Call the meeting to order for the Winslow Town Council, Monday, January 15th, 6 p.m. Audra?
Do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call vote, Mike Joseph,
Here.
Dale Macklin,
Here.
Fran Hudson,
Here.
Ray Karen,
Here.
Adam Lint,
Here.
and Lee Trahan is absent this evening, and Jeff West.
Here.
And I'll just read the statement regarding public comment. Any person wishing to verbally address the council on any matter before it may do so, provided permission is first obtained from the council chair. Each person addressing the council shall stand and give the person's name and address in an audible tone of voice for the record, and shall limit remarks to the time allotted by the council chair. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. No person other than the council and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a counselor, without the permission of the council chair. No question shall be asked a counselor except through the council chair. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who shall become boisterous while addressing the council, shall be forthwith by the council chair barred from further audience from the council, unless permission to continue is granted by the majority vote of the council. Side conversations within the audience will not be tolerated. And as a side note, if I might add, if everyone could speak into the microphone, if the audience could go to the podium and make sure they're speaking into the microphone. We've been having a hard time hearing things either from the people watching on the computer or going back to redo the minutes. Is there any disclosures of conflict of interest this evening?
I believe we have one.
Okay.
I do. The cemetery committee, or the Jason Fitch's contract, he's my father-in-law, and I also own one of the cemeteries that they maintain for the town of Winslow.
Okay. Thank you. And approval of minutes from the previous meeting. We have the December 11th, 2023, and the January 2nd, 2024 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? None? Okay, Mike Joseph.
Here. Yes.
Yeah. Dale Macklin.
Yes.
Fran Hudson.
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Adam Lint.
Yes.
Lee's not here. And Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, reports of committees and commissions. The town manager's report.
Thank you, Audra. You'll have to excuse me, just getting over the backside of a cold. Unfortunately, the big news is the storm and the flooding from the December 18th storm. Fort Halifax and Lithgow Street were severely affected by the floodwaters. Residents throughout Winslow experienced severe property damage due to the high winds and rain-soaked ground. Trees fell down on top of houses and vehicles. High winds ripped shingles and metal roofing from the buildings. The electricity been out for days. Our team in the town of Winslow really stepped up to the plate and helped pull this thing through. Fortunately, the structures in Halifax Park are all insured, and we'll be beginning discussions on how to move forward with that. I want to thank our fire and rescue personnel, our police department, our public works personnel for their hard work and ethics during the storm. They worked extra hours and endured extreme weather to help open the roads and assist in need, and they kept us safe. I want to talk a little bit about Paul Fongeme and his crew down there. Last spring, we ended up with a storm and it pushed a lot of material on Fort Halifax Park. We ended up getting FEMA and MEMA involved with estimates. It was going to cost us about $100,000 to have this material removed. The town's share of that was going to be 10%, or about $10,000. Paul took his team down there, and they were able to clean out all of that debris, plus the debris for what we had this last storm, for half of that, about $5,000. So thank you, Paul. You really saved the town some money. And, thinking outside of the box like that is what makes Winslow special. The Winslow Parks and Recreation Department and the School Department opened their doors for residents to use as warming and charging centers. We came together as a community and we helped each other out in a time of need. Due to the storm, the Chaffee Brook Pump Station project has been paused and is anticipated to continue next summer. Wyman and Simpson experienced damage to the barge, and high water levels have made it prohibitive to continue. Ice flows are beginning to develop, and everyone agreed that it would be prudent to wait for warmer weather in the summer. At this point, it does not appear that it'll be an increase to the town. Apparently, Wyman and Simpson's insurance company is going to take care of the damage. I know that the pipe that they had laid and the ditch that they dug across the Kennebec filled in, and the pipe got damaged a lot. I mean, this was 1.5 inch thick plastic pipe and there's large gouges in it. So it really set us back, and this has been a project that I know the town of Winslow has been trying to get done for a while. So we've again taken a back seat to it. Public Safety Director Len McDade held a very informative roundtable discussion with regional industry experts regarding interfacility transfers. I think that both Director McDade and I learned a lot from this gathering. There'll be more to follow as we wrangle through the mounds of information with the goal of doing what's right for our community. In closing, I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. That's all I have.
If I might add something to that, Ella, is that, and Paul can verify this, is that there still is an 8-inch pipe running across the river, so that, and the pumps have been replaced, so we are sending our sewage from our side of the river, not into the river, but using that 8-inch pipe over to the treatment plant.
Thank you, Ray, for bringing that up.
I do have one question, Ella. As far as the new pipes going across, do we have to wait for the same window next year?
Well, that's a point of discussion. We're actually going to have that with the agencies involved, DEP. I think Fish and Wildlife is going to be involved with that discussion, because part of the reason why we had to wait until this last fall was because of the fish migration up the river. Right. I hope we don't have to wait, because there's a lot of work with digging that ditch back out again and getting that pipe back into place.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, for bringing that up.
Any other department reports? Paul, Lenny? Okay, and the Finance Committee reports, those were given out to the Finance Committee, and our financial reports are there as well. Motion to approve the reports.
Motion to approve. Second.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, on to public comment.
At this point in the meeting, if anybody in the audience has anything they want to bring up, talk about, that's not on the agenda, you have 3 minutes to do so.
It's me. It's me.
That's you.
Chew me.
Cue you in there, Franny. You all set?
I think I
My
am.
name is Scott Holst. I live at 133 Cushman Road. I am a semi-retired, 42-year career firefighter. I worked in 12 years in Winslow and the last 30 in Waterville. I'm still the driver and helping with their transfers of patients around the state with their ambulance. I want to start out with saying that I am very proud of the men and the women of our Winslow Fire Department, that serve the citizens each and every day. They strive to make our homes and properties, they protect them. But most importantly, when it comes to our medical needs, they are quick to respond and to the task. But what I am very ashamed of and truly bothered by is the way their hands are continuously being tied and their great work is constantly being held back. Their new deputy fire chief is doing the best that he can, but he is held back for providing his men in his department by this new public safety director. A public safety director who has not enough experience in the position that they are in. For one thing, he truly does not know the ins and outs of a fire department. I feel that our ambulance service is being mismanaged, and this starts with the director not knowing what he is doing. I say this because I know that the service is making revenue to sustain the service that are providing for our members to run it. After getting the chance to look over the department's budget, I find that our department showed that they had a profit in the EMS service, enough to meet the personal needs of the thing. To tell us the service has no money tells me it is not, whoever's doing the work is not doing it right. And the revenue is being used somewhere else. After hearing last week that some people have been laid off in our department, I feel this director has either tried to sabotage the situation, because we rely on these people that he laid off and is placing our citizens at risk. The director should do his homework before he jumps the gun and makes any rational decisions. The town manager, I was at a meeting, stated that she wants regionalization, and I totally agree. I would help in this adventure as best as I can, but it's got to be done right. I've been in this service for 42 years, and a few years back, it was trying to be pushed upon us by people who had no idea of what they're doing. So if we want to do this regionalization, we have to do it and do it right. If the people who are picked to try to put us into regionalization goes by the way of the leadership hiring the public safety director, I know we were in for bad times. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dumont. I am the commander of the Winslow VFW. The Winslow VFW Post 8835 stands as a beacon of service and dedication to both the community and our esteemed veterans. In the spirit of camaraderie, our post tirelessly strives to make a lasting impact. Our commitment goes beyond remembrance and extends to active service within our community and fostering a sense of duty among our veterans. At the heart of our efforts is the profound belief that veterans, even after their active duty, continue to play a crucial role in serving society. Through various initiatives, Winslow VFW Post 835 exemplifies this ethos, engaging veterans in community projects that uplift and support those around us. One significant testament to our commitment is the addition of a backup generator, which we hope to be installed in the coming months. This strategic move positions us not only as a steadfast supporter of veterans, but also as a reliable resource for our community during emergencies. With this generator in place, Winslow VFW Post 835 aspires to be a warming center during times of crisis, like the storm we just experienced, providing solace and assistance when it matters most. As we take pride in our history, we recognize that our duty extends into the future. This generator project symbolizes our foresight and a determination to adapt, ensuring that our post remains a pillar of strength and support for both veterans and the community at large. Together, we continue to serve, honor, and build a legacy that echoes the values of duty, service, and community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike, thanks for the offer, and we certainly, I think, very surely will be discussing warming centers and all like that, and that would probably.
Yeah, you gotta let it run out, I guess.
So, we're looking at grants right now to try to get more things done. Right now, the warming center is, that's what we're trying to do for emergencies. But eventually, we want showers and hopefully a laundromat of some sort in there. And then we can actually get a full-on assistance from the federal government, during times of crisis, like what we just experienced, so.
I got a question. Who writes up your grants?
Right now, we don't have anyone.
You don't have anybody?
No. But we do, Winslow the VFW National actually has people who write up grants.
Okay.
So we're looking into all avenues right now. Right now, we're gonna just buy the generator and get it installed so that we have that piece done. But we're on a slab, so it's gonna take, some doing to get showers and everything else added,
Thank you.
But,
One other question, if there, or not a question, comment more than anything, if there's anything the town can do to help, come see us, please.
Perfect, thank you, I appreciate it.
It's gonna go off.
Maybe eventually.
Hi, I'm Larry Desmond, and I live at 15 Shawn Street. During the power outage, I called the fire station on the landline 3 times, got a recording. Is that because we have internet on the phone system? We need to have a system where we can go back to the landline and you'll be able to talk to them. Comm Center was so busy, they can't take unnecessary calls, they're taking emergency calls. They had plenty of them to take. It ought to be looked at to get that phone system working, so if we lose power, we have access to calling directly to the fire station and police department. That was a concern I had. I called twice and I couldn't get through. Got a recording both times, so just something to think about.
Hi. I'm Denise Whitman and I'm at 1266 Augusta Road. I'm the current owner of Anywheres LLC. We're a party and event rental business where people occasionally come to pick and drop off orders. As a business property payer and with my business registered with the town, I found out that I was prohibited to have a sign due to section 14-62 signs. Even though I'm in the area considered low residential industrial, it has residential in its classification, prohibiting road signs from all residential districts. I believe that all registered businesses in our town should be able to have the opportunity to have a business sign. There are numerous benefits to having a sign not only for the business owners like me, but also for our town. I personally have received over 65 signatures for a petition to allow all businesses registered the ability to have a sign, as well as signatures from my surrounding neighbors of their approval that it will not devalue or deface their properties. Business sign could not only benefit me, but it could create economic growth, help the visibility of businesses and the roads in times when we need it, enhance tourism and visitor experience to our town. It will make it so that small businesses like myself have a chance to be seen, where a lot of places like, say, Facebook don't allow services to give out information, but we're not big enough like corporate companies to get the word out as easily. A lot of problems that I come to face currently after 4 years of being in business is that some people don't always believe we're a legitimate company because we can't have a sign out front. And then we also live at the bottom of a small hill, so numerous times customers will pass by our house and then they're slowing down, going back and forth, creating more dangerous road conditions because of trying to find our location. Signs overall can create an identity for our community to show that we're welcoming and allowing businesses to come, and in return, show residents a place that they can come and find a place as well. I believe that allowing all businesses to have signs not only in industrial districts but in residential that are registered with our town creates a level playing field for competition and overall
Ignore the noise, ignore the noise.
overall improve and innovate our community. Not only does this do this, but the increase in foot traffic could create the potential for job growth with increased sales and sorry, I've never done this before, so I'm a little nervous. So overall, I just think that by removing business signs, it can create economic growth, job creation, increased visibility, enhanced tourism, support for small business, a stronger community identity, and equality among businesses in our town. Please consider this, not only for me, but for the rest of the community.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Now, you said you just had 65 signatures and saying that that's not going to deface the value of adjoining properties?
I have 65 signatures for the petition where I was fighting to have business signs for everybody in the community. I have what it says here. Please hold. So basically, in the petition that people sign, it says that a business thrives on visibility and accessibility. The ability to have a sign near the road would not only help customers find us, but allow any passerby to see what our business does. Rental businesses depend upon people choosing us for their events. Currently, there are restrictions preventing that the prevent businesses like mine from installing roadside signs. This is detrimental to local commerce and hampers the growth of small businesses that form the backbone of our town's economy. According to the Small Business Association, signage is an effective marketing tool for local businesses, as 50% of the new customers learn a company through its on-premise signs. Furthermore, research by FedEx Office found that 76% of consumers entered a store they had never visited before purely based on its signs. By allowing all businesses in Winslow, Maine to install road signs, we can boost local commerce and ensure every enterprise has an equal opportunity for growth and success. This change will not only benefit our own rental business, but contribute positively towards our town's economic development. Please sign if you believe in supporting small businesses and promoting fair competition within our community.
So you had all those people sign that?
65 in our town, and then I have all the surrounding neighbors signed
So,
for the
Do we
defacement and
make a
devaluing.
motion to change the ordinance?
Well, we
That-
actually,
For an ordinance change, it's required 2 readings, you usually have to have a public hearing.
Okay.
It's a zoning change, yeah.
What's that?
It's a zoning change. Would have to be a zoning change.
This is a zoning change?
Yeah,
For
right
the
now-
whole town?
Right now, her sign is not
change
allowed
an
in,
ordinance anytime.
An ordinance you can
mixed use.
change.
That's right. You can change an ordinance. And it, you
Change an
just,
ordinance.
Yeah.
Yes, you can change it.
You still have to have a
you
public
can
hearing.
repeal an ordinance.
Yeah.
It's nothing we can do today, Mike?
No, but we can bring it up the next meeting, right?
Absolutely, we just
Okay.
have to have somebody sponsor it to go through.
Okay, I'll do that.
If I may, through the chair, I think it would be nice to get Chris and a group together that would write the specifications for residential, if there is a sign, whether it's illuminated, what the size, what the setback is from the road, just so when it came here, that, you know what I mean, it would have some type of sense to it.
I know that he brought it to the planning board and they rejected even listening to my case.
Well, I messaged with you the other day,
Yes,
and I told you we will look into that, and
Yep.
we will.
I appreciate that.
Because honestly, and you said it best, I think, Facebook, are you legitimate or not?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen some of your posts, I'm like,
There's too
Is
many
this legit or
scammers
not?
these days.
If I may. through
now
the
I know you are, because you're a real
Yes,
person
sir.
in front of me.
Yes.
Is Chris here today by any chance? No. He's not here today. Ella, you gonna follow up on this with Chris and with Denise or with people that wanna
right.
have input on this subject?
Yeah, I'll actually get some guidance through Bill Lee. He's participating in this meeting as well, so he's listening to the entire process, so.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Hello, everybody. My name is Jeff Dagnall. I live at 1273 Augusta Road. And my wife Kelly and I bought the old lobster trap building here in Winslow. And when we bought the building was completely gutted. There was no sheetrock, there was no plumbing, there was no heating. And by the time we got plumbing in it, it was back in August, late August, early September of last year. When we got, of course, the water and the sewage combined, well, once the Kennebec water contacts the sewage, they turn that on, or so I thought. When I got my first sewage bill, it was hundreds of dollars. I don't have the exact amount with me, so I don't want to exaggerate the story, but it was excessive. So I went in town and I asked why my bill was so high. They explained to me that the bill was from the beginning, when I bought the building back in November of 2022, and that I not only owe the bill, but I owe penalties, or I had some fee I had to pay, plus I had interest, and by the end of if I didn't pay it within that month, they were gonna put my building in lien. So I said, well, how do I owe this money if I've never even received a bill? So they said, no, you've been getting a bill. So we looked it up on the computer. The bill was in the prior owner's name. So they apparently have been sending the bill to the prior owner, and I got the last bill when I turned on the water. They gave me the bill. So I said, okay. They did manage to get the interest off that bill, and I paid the bill because I didn't want the building to go into lien, and I thought the matter was settled. This month, I got a notice of lien in the mail, and I'm like, well, what is this? So I go to the town. They tell me, well, you have another sewage bill, a bill that I have never received any kind of notification or bill, like paper bill in the mail or anything like that. But I owe, again, I had a fee, I had interest, and I also have the lien that will go into effect apparently in 2 weeks at the end of this month for, again, a bill that I've never received. The building we're trying to put together is an investment property, so I just want to ask the town, is this how we treat our small businesses coming into Winslow? Because to me, it's unacceptable, and I kind of take it as a personal attack when I paid all my bills up to this point, all that I know of. And actually, the bill in question, when I went in there, they gave me a piece of paper to show me what I owed, and the piece of paper that they gave me was still in the prior owner's name. Just to show you that, like, there's a confusion in the office, but I have to pay the fees. So it doesn't make any sense to me, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I have a question for you, Jeff. Is that the first bill that came to you, now this is a surge because you have water going into the building, correct?
Yes, there's 2 buildings on the property. One used to be the old fish market, and one is the main building. The main building was the bill that I paid the first time. Now they're telling me I owe a bill for the what used to be the old fish market. There's no plumbing in the building, the water's not turned on, and I owe this bill now. And again, my property could go into lien at the end of this month for a bill I didn't know about on a building that has no plumbing in it.
So they were billing LLC, Shamrock LLC, correct? And then when the lien came up, it was billed
That's what
to
I was
you?
told.
So you were billed at the last minute? That was the first time you ever?
Actually, I never was billed for this. I have never received a bill.
So-
The only reason I knew about this was because of the notice of lien. That's what I got.
So there's a mistake here that's gone to.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Eller, have you been updated on this, or?
No, this is the first I've heard of it, but, you know, the thing is, people have to communicate with the staff for this to change, too. These are sewer ordinances that are governed by state law, and Jeff, stop in to see me, and so we can talk about this.
Okay, will do.
Was
Appreciate
the
your
water on
time.
in the building when you bought it, Jeff?
No, the water was not, you weren't able to turn the water on because there was no plumbing. And that's the reason why I bought the building in November of 2022, but it wasn't until August by the time I could actually have the water turned on. I mean, everything had to be
23, correct?
replaced.
I'm assuming.
I bought the building in 2022, November.
so-
And 2023, yes, that's when the
August
water was
20,
turned on.
23
Yes,
is when
August,
you
yeah.
had your water turned on.
Because, again, the plumbing all had to be replaced.
Yeah.
The second bill, is that pertaining to all one building, or is it pertaining to the second building, the building that didn't have any water at all?
This is pertaining to the second building. It has no plumbing in that building at all. And I'd be glad to show anybody who wants to take a look at this building, and they can, see for themselves that there's nothing in that building.
Thank you.
I can't imagine we can't work that out.
Hell of a job, but I'm assuming that is paperwork within the office that wasn't straightened out, nothing was done when you bought the building to put it in your name. There's a paperwork problem somewhere.
And I understand
And
that,
it will come down to that, I'm sure.
yeah, and I understand that it was probably a clerical error at some point, but I don't believe I should be paying interest, a fee, and then have a threat of a lien put on my building for a clerical error. Yeah, that's all I'm saying about it.
Yeah,
We'll see,
get it
Ella, she'll
straightened
take
out.
care of you.
Okay, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, let's try this again.
Menu first.
Yeah, we got it. We got it. We're all good.
Can't shut it off, though. Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm Jacob Runway, District 2. Are there any plans to bring back the Coffee with the Manager series from the last town management?
I don't have any plans of doing that.
Okay, that's all.
Jacob, what's your address?
7 Payne Street.
Thank you.
Told you.
Let's throw this thing through the wall. I didn't buy it. Oh, you gotta hold the menu button, and it'll reset to 3 minutes.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I just did it.
Do it again, it's gonna be fun.
Is there anyone else has anything to say within the public comment section?
so I could test the timer. Just kidding.
Okay, two things I have. Chief McDade, or Public Safety Director McDade, have we had any layoffs? No, we've had no layoffs. Okay. So let's get that straight first. There's been no layoffs.
I have a question on that.
Yeah,
Can you stand up to the microphone, please?
I'm Bill Carey, 1149 China Road.
Thank you.
If there's no layoffs, my wife works for the ambulance service here in town. 2 weeks ago, she worked in Waterville. The next day, she was supposed to work in Winslow. The day she worked in Waterville, she got a notice that her time in Winslow had been canceled. And for the last couple of weeks, she hasn't, her shifts that she had pre-arranged months in advance have been canceled. I call that a layoff. Thank you.
Excuse me, I got a question for you, Bill. How many days did she have scheduled that week that was canceled?
The first week,
I didn't know that's what it was about.
the first week, I believe she was scheduled for 3 days, 24-hour shifts. And last week, she was scheduled for 2 24-hour shifts. I'm not sure about this week.
How much time did she have for a notice before it was canceled?
As far as I know, hours.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Since we're already talking about the paramedics, I know it's been longstanding that everybody wants the Winslow Fire Department to be fully manned with paramedics. What a lot of people don't understand is what is a paramedic? A paramedic, all of our firefighters are EMTs, which is a good thing. But a paramedic, the difference between a paramedic and an EMT is the difference between a doctor and a certified nurse's aide. So that's the difference. You want a doctor or you want a CNA to come to your house? Paramedic, EMT, that's the difference. The second thing I want to mention is all of the paramedics were removed from the schedule. We were the lowest, these are per diem, but they still work for Winslow. They're still employed for Winslow, so they're Winslow paramedics. You want that because that's the difference between life and death. I say that because I worked on an ambulance for 17 years. If you have them, use them. You have to use them. I already know it's not costing us any money to use them. I've already looked into it. And I also want to say, no matter what you've been told, or no matter what you've heard, I've also got those numbers. This past year, the ambulance service in Winslow grossed $302,000. After paying all of the bills to run that service, we cleared $135,000. That is including paying for the per diem paramedics. When you pay for a per diem paramedic in Winslow, that per diem paramedic is making about $720 a shift. Sounds like a lot, but once that paramedic goes on one call, it more than pays for that paramedic entire shift. So you're not losing money. We are making money, not $1 million, but profit enough to keep this ambulance service running without costing any taxpayers a penny. You get a bill when the ambulance comes to your house. That was never intended to be free. A lot of people came to me last week and asked me why they get a bill. No ambulance service can run for free. You heard what I just said. We earned $302,000. We can't afford that. So of course you're gonna get billed the same as you were if Delta goes to your house, if Waterville Fire, any ambulance goes to your house, you have to pay through your insurance or whatever. But when we said we were gonna make this ambulance service, we said it would cost the taxpayers no money as far as keeping it running, getting that ambulance to your house when you dial 911. And another thing people don't understand is Waterville Fire does 911s now, but they're also doing interfacility transfers. They will not have the resources to send that paramedic to your house from Waterville if we don't have one. They're not gonna be available. I've already talked to the fire chief. They're not gonna have them, so you won't have that paramedic coming to your house. If it's costing no money, which I know it's not, I've got the papers to show anybody that wants to see it. Why would you remove them? What do you want coming to your house? So I think we need to rethink that. Now, the mutual aid, if we call Waterville, hey, we don't have a paramedic, can you send one over? Yeah. They charged us $75. Years ago when I worked, it was a handshake. Now it's $75. I talked to the fire chief just a few days ago. They're going up to $300 every time we use them, and so isn't Delta. And Delta's already stated, they cannot respond to our paramedic ALS. So this is something we all need to really focus on and get those paramedics back on those trucks. The lowest from these per diems that are scheduled, the ones that all got their shifts taken away, the lowest amount of time was 4 days a week they filled. 3 days we didn't have them. But last week, it was 6 out of the 7 days we had paramedics scheduled that were removed. These paramedics are gonna go look somewhere else for a job. And that's about all I have.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir?
we can sit here all day, I think, Fran, and we can discuss whether the ambulance service is making money or not.
That's not what I was talking
At best, our ambulance service, at best, when you do the proper accounting, as was advised by this council with the auditor last year, we're breaking even, at best. And I can live with that, that's not a problem. We have the service, it's there. And when you wanna factor everything in, and depending on how you wanna do the auditing and the accounting, there are 10 different ways to do it. The ambulance service, we hope, is breaking even. That's it, with the
Dale.
revenues that they bring in.
Do you have the
I've
I
seen
got my
every
numbers
single-
from the
I've
town of
seen
Winslow.
I've seen every dollar
You
figure
haven't, 'cause
on
it's
the
right here.
ambulances for
I'm not
the
gonna
last
argue.
4 years.
Okay, this conversation's over. We're way above time on that. Anybody else?
Okay, moving on.
Nope, not moving on yet.
Okay.
I have a statement. It's come to my attention that a couple of councilors have scheduled a meeting with officials from another municipality to discuss public business involving the town of Winslow. This was done without the full town council, chair, or TM, town manager, being made aware of their actions. I find this at the very least to be concerning. The councilors involved have criticized current and past councilors of not being transparent and underhanded, yet have chosen to take it upon themselves to take such actions as to have a private meeting with another municipality's officials. The town manager was invited after the fact, after she found out about the meeting and raised concerns. The lack of professional courtesy towards the council and the town manager is appalling. I would like to put this matter on the agenda as a discussion item in the future, and possibly with the direction of legal counsel, add to our rules of council that no council should take part in or facilitate meetings with another municipality's officials without a majority vote of the council. That is all I have. Moving on.
Can I comment on that, Jeff, or is it
Through the chair, go ahead.
through the chair? There is nothing wrong, Jeff, nothing illegal, I don't believe, about a counselor meeting with any other municipal officials.
Absolutely not.
There's nothing in our rules, regulations, charter, or whatever. What it comes down to is a matter of proper tradition and protocol and professionalism that the council has had in the past. That councilors, if they want to meet with somebody in an official capacity, cannot go to any of those meetings and say they represent the council. I'm sure we all agree on that. And it's been tradition, and it's been historical that whenever, and I've done it, I think most councilors have done it, we go to other public officials to get information. But certainly we first either go through the chair of the council, or we go through the town manager. It's just a matter of professional courtesy to the others involved. That's all I have.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I'm one of the two he's talking about, because Waterville Fire, I was reaching out to get information on the removal of the paramedics. I didn't set up a meeting, I was invited to a meeting with another counselor, and I did pass it through the town manager.
After the fact.
I never answered him till after I got that email. If you would have spoke to me, I'd have told you that. I never answered that I was going to that meeting until after I sent it to Ella. And she said McDade was going, and then we contacted to say who was going to be attending the meeting. So we didn't do anything behind anybody's backs, and courtesy goes both ways. You can start respecting the new staff here as well as we can you. Let's just start right now by not just being so accusative. Ask. You have a question? Ask anybody who you think is doing something improper. That's all I have to say.
Through the chair,
Go ahead.
I was the other. In fact, I was invited, and I had spoken to Fran, and before we even accepted to go, this was brought up to Ella by Fran. Fran had told Fran about it, and Ella about it, and Ella said that she couldn't do it because she was busy. Am I correct, Fran?
Absolutely.
And then she said, well, we'll probably send Lenny McDade, ask for Lenny McDade. But we have not confirmed that it was gonna happen yet.
Really?
Yep.
So which one of you is not telling me the truth? Because I have an email right here. I mean, do you really want to go there? Do you want to open this can of worms? I was just making a
I'm
statement.
not opening anything. I have not spoke to him to say, and I'm not gonna be, again.
opened the can.
Yep, you're right, I did.
If I might, through the chair, Ella, could you shed some light on this issue?
Absolutely. Historically or typically, the way it works with the town manager, Fran and Mike, just to give you some advice, at least in my past lifetime, was that if there's a meeting that's required to happen with other towns, usually the council chairs or the council will come up and ask me if I could arrange that meeting. Because if you want me to be there, my schedule will have to be clear. When I learned of this meeting on January 12th, I mean, my schedule's pretty booked up, and I was filled. And Fran had notified me that she said that they were invited to attend a meeting in Waterville and with other city officials from Waterville and regarding numbers and discussion about the ambulance service, and it should be proved interesting as well as informative. I will be attending as well as Mike. We, as well as they, want to make sure that you're aware as well as be invited to attend, and I appreciate that. But the cart got put before the horse on
We
this.
didn't call the meeting.
Okay,
They
well, I'm
invited
just
us,
saying.
And then I sent you an
Right,
email.
right.
I don't understand
So,
what you guys
what
are saying.
I guess I ask from this point forward is if you guys are going to have a meeting with an outside agency and you want me involved in it, bring me to the table right off quick.
I did.
Because I had talked with Bill Post from the city of Waterville last week, because we were supposed to get together, but I had the flu. And so we're gonna reschedule that, so it just got rescheduled without me, that's all.
This-
Because the
and-
schedule was already set for 1/17 at 10 o'clock in the morning, right?
But we didn't confirm who
wasn't
was
confirmed
going,
yet.
that we were going.
Okay.
The second, until I sent you the email. Secondly, this was a continuation of the meeting we had already all attended.
Right.
In Winslow.
And I was involved in that.
Right.
And I was planning on setting the agenda or setting the time for that.
But we didn't
so-
set the meeting. You think we
Okay.
reached out to
Who-
them?
Who set the meeting?
I got the
Fire-
invite from
the fire
Mike,
department.
and the fire
The
department
fire department set the
contacted him.
meeting? It
Yep,
wasn't the
Sean
administration
said
from the city?
Anytime
No.
Wednesday, he says it would be fine to be going
It was-
Tuesday or Wednesday.
If I might, through the chair,
Yeah.
I apologize for interrupting, if I might, through the chair. Normally, what happens is if somebody gets invited to a meeting is, it's usually not that some outside agency will invite individual councilors to the meeting. They'll go through the town manager. The town manager will say, then determine who would, we requested these people. She would most likely say, go to the meeting, or have a discussion with the councilors that have been invited to go to the meeting. There's usually not any problem with that happening. I think this time is that they invited individual counselors to the meeting without your knowledge, is that correct?
That's exactly correct.
And even though Fran and Mike mentioned that they hadn't been invited to the meeting, I think it should have gone through Ella first. And no wrongdoing on anybody's part. We're all, learning here how to, what the proper procedures are here. And I think that that's normally the procedures that people go by, is that type of thing.
Yeah,
But-
I'm a little surprised that Sean Essler reached out to you guys before he reached out to me, too.
He actually reached out to me, Ella.
Yep, I mean, that's a
And then
little
he told
surprising.
us to make sure to reach out to you.
Right.
It's right in my email, you
Yep.
can read it.
Because of the
Right,
last
and
meeting.
I have your email, Fran, and I've read it. The thing is, my schedule is so packed in, and I have so much going on, that it's, it would have been nice to get this before the date and time was set, I guess.
That sounds
I'm
like
just
Sean.
confused.
Yeah,
I'm
it
very
sounds like Sean
confused
should have
because
brought
I
it to
sent
your
it to you
attention.
when,
Right.
after we were asked, so I couldn't have done it any quicker.
To the chair.
Yes.
It was Sean that reached out to me the day that we had the meeting on January 2nd and asked me if he could talk to me more about it because he didn't have enough time. We were limited on time and he had the last part of it. And he asked me if we could meet. And then he called me up and said he'd like to meet with me. So from there, that's when it got involved. And then he says, please call Ella or let her know. I says, fine. So Fran says, I'll do that. That's not a problem. That way there, you were invited as well, and you mentioned the fact, said, well, why don't we have Lenny McDade go? That's where it went.
So there was no lighters?
I don't,
Just want to make sure.
Okay, let's move on.
Anyone else? That's it. On to tabled business. Order number 40-2023, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign the attached agreement with blank, we have 3 quotes, to update and maintain the security camera system at the town office complex for an amount not to exceed blank to be set by council. So there was 3 quotes. I did have one that got updated, and I sent that to everyone on Thursday.
And the lowest quote is actually from, we're on the cameras, correct?
Yes.
Seacoast Security, which is a company that we're currently dealing with. Their quote came in at $6,592, which is substantially lower than the competition. The money is already in the account. The council and department heads had put that money in last year, so we do have the funding for that.
And they're currently doing it now anyway, right?
They're currently doing it now, and I believe that Lenny and I both recommend that
did you say Seacoast? I'm sorry. Did you say
Seacoast Security.
Do we have a motion? Take
I
it off the
will
table?
I will make a motion to accept Seacoast Security
I see.
as a supplier of this new security camera, and the value not to exceed, you think that this quotes, even though it was in the middle of November, is still valid?
Yes, they are. Yep.
So,
Even if you put it at $7,000, Ray, we're
Yeah.
still gonna be substantially under, so if there's some wiggle room.
there might be something you might wanna upgrade while you're doing it, or something might be deficient, so I'd like to put a little bit of money there. You think the $500 or $400 would be sufficient to go to 7,000?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
We checked all 3 systems quite a bit, and Seacoast Security would fill all our needs. It's just not for the police department. We found there was a real need for Up With the Girls collector registration. There was no cameras up there at all with the money exchanges. And then we also had a need at the fire department, which we're adding that in the bill. And then the gazebo where they park vehicles, and the gazebo's been damaged. So it's gonna cover quite a bit of areas. And for that amount of money, the difference, they did the same thing everybody else did. We thought it was worthwhile for the money.
Okay, so I make a motion to providing for the authorization for the town manager to sign the attached agreement with Seacoast Security, not to exceed $7,000.
Discussion. Do you feel that's enough, at 7,000?
Well, it's still more in the budget for that line item budget anyway,
Right.
if we need more later.
Exactly.
Bring it back.
Roll call?
Okay, Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, on to old business. Ordinance number 10-2023, providing for an amendment to ordinance number 13-2022, personnel rules and regulations for town employees, amending the holiday schedule by adding the underlined and deleting the strike-through language in the attached document.
Okay, this
If
is,
I might, through the chair, did we, I know it's just a procedural thing, but did we make a motion to take it off the table? Because that was table business. Should we?
That's old business, right?
That's
No,
old business?
that was,
No, he's talking about the last.
The last
last one.
one, the
That
signed
was-
agreement with Seacoast Security. That was a table business, but we never took it off the table, so I think just for clarity, I make a motion that we take order number 40-2023 off the table.
Second,
Second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
You gotta redo your thing, right?
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
That's okay. Just doesn't make any difference, but.
Okay, and then, so roll call on to take the order off the table. So, Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
So motion passes 6-0 to take the order off the table. And then we have a motion to approve Seacoast for 7,000.
Yes.
Do you want to do that vote again, or is that how it needs to be?
No, it doesn't make a difference. I mean.
I want to make sure I
let's
get
just-
it right.
Let's just move on. It's just,
The formality.
I just want
I
to
was sorry I went back to
Thank
take it off the table, actually, but,
Thank you, Ray.
yeah.
Okay, so then the ordinance number 10-2023, that is old business.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I second.
Any discussion? Could you clarify that one, Ella, please?
yes, absolutely. So that was a change in the personnel policy that allowed the town office to take floating holidays so that we weren't closed down so much during the week. So if a holiday fell on a Saturday or Friday, we used it as a floating holiday unless it was one of the major ones. If a holiday fell on Monday, we still took it off as a Monday. So I think we have a total of 5 or 6 floating holidays, and it allows the town office to stay open.
Will that mean there's less times that the office is only open 3 days a week?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other discussion?
Okay.
Roll call?
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Okay, ordinance number 11-2023, providing for an amendment to ordinance number 18-2022, ordinance for property maintenance, amending section 6, enforcement, violations, and penalty extensions by adding the underlined language to the attached document.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Ella, would you like to explain that one as well?
Yep, that was a change to the property maintenance ordinance, and what it did was it allows us to go and try to work a little harder to gain voluntary compliance with the rules. So you weren't going in there with a big stick, we're trying to get people to do things on their own. And so it just kind of clarified it, made it a little bit easier for the code enforcement officer to help him understand how to move forward with it.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
Lee, sorry, and Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Order number 43-2023, providing for authorization for the town manager to sign the attached contract with Jason Fitch for mowing, trimming, sexton duties, and maintenance for all town cemeteries for a 3-year term.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ella, would you mind the contract cost, please?
The contract cost is $25,000 a year, and what that includes is maintenance of all 13 cemeteries, and he provides the sexton duties for the cemeteries as well.
And just a note, I don't believe he went up on his price at all
No.
for the mowing, trimming,
Right.
and fall and spring cleanup.
Right.
The only thing we added was the 1,500 for the sexton duties, because
That's
we're
right.
gonna eliminate the, cemetery committee, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
If I might, through the chair, Jason does an excellent job. I think for the last 2 years that we've seen a really vast improvement in our cemeteries, a lot of volunteer help too, but we've seen a nice improvement, and I think we can work on that. There's a lot of work left to do in the cemeteries, but I think we have a good start the last 2 years, and I think that, the cemeteries are respected. And Jason does an excellent job on that, and improvement, not only just maintenance, but improvement on the cemeteries, and I think that's very positive.
I'd just like to add another thing to Counselor Macklin. The ladies from the Daughters of the American Revolution over the last 3 years have pretty much gone through, I think, every cemetery.
Well, it wasn't just us three, Jeff, there was 11 volunteers.
Right, well, I meant your people that you got together is what I meant. And you can actually see some of these headstones now. They're not laying in the dirt, they're not buried. They've done a ton of work, and it's very appreciated by the town. Thank you.
They fixed the one up by my house, they did a great job.
Yep. No, yours was horrible.
There's two we couldn't get to.
Yours was horrible.
There's two, Jeff, we couldn't get to. One is way, a mile and a half, 2 miles at the end of the East Palmer Road.
Yeah.
That you need 4-wheel drives and ATVs to get to. The other one is at the Fortin Farm on the Upper Cushman Road. That place is a swamp all summer because of the rain. So some arrangements gonna have to be made if we're gonna finish those.
Yeah.
To get equipment and people in there.
Yeah.
There's another cemetery that I don't know if anybody knows about this, but you know where the meat cutting place used to be?
Yeah, there's one across the street.
Okay, you guys know about it?
Yeah, there's, I think there's 2 there.
Okay. As a kid, I used to go through there with dirt bikes and remember that old cemetery.
That one, I don't think we can find the other headstone though.
Which one are you talking about?
The one on the Morrill Road.
Oh, the Morrill Road?
Yeah.
There's 2 there that, yes, one actually is being visited very regularly. That has 3 or 4 stones, I think, and the other one only has 2.
Yeah.
Is there any military people in there, do we know?
Yes, there are. And we're working on that, Louis.
I just want, I haven't been to.
The group
With
that's been
John,
working on
we'll
these
get
has
together
done an
with
amazing
John.
job.
Yeah.
And honestly, he's back there, I think. Is that you, Steve? Steve actually started a lot of this, what, 4 years ago, Steve? And he actually got me started in it, and thank you for doing that, Steve.
Yeah, through the chair, just as we're throwing out names, I'll throw out a few more names. Cindy Gagnon, Joyce Wyan, Ron St. Amar, Scott Wentworth, and Kid Alexander has done, they've worked tirelessly in those cemeteries, and I just think,
You gonna mention
that's
names,
good.
Ray Fildow, Patty Poulin,
Yep, yep,
Lisa,
yep.
and there's one more. King is her last name. Jenna King.
Yeah, they've done an amazing job, everybody that was involved, and thank you for that. Audra?
Okay, Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Ren Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Abstain.
Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 5 with One abstention. Okay, on to new business. Resolution 4-2024, providing for authorization for the town manager to accept a donation from the Winslow VFW to benefit the Winslow Police Department, Parks and Recreation Department, and the Public Works Department.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Sir?
So I know in the past, we've sent these checks out to all three of these organizations within the town. And after talking with you, it's kind of a pain in the butt. We're trying to think of a different way of doing it so we can make sure that what we're doing is right now, we're charging the town to use the post for elections. And what we're doing is we're giving the money back, but we're putting it back into the different departments. We're still working out some kinks on that, trying to see what we can do to make that more fluid and easier. But for now, if you guys could put those checks towards those various departments for whatever they need, that'd be much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike?
And
Anyone else have anything?
I did check with each department on where they would like that money to go, and I did put that into the resolution for you.
Thank you.
Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Neil Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen,
Yes.
Adam Lint,
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Again, thank you, Mike, for that.
Well, you guys do a lot for us, so just want to give back.
Thank you, Mike.
Resolution number 6-2024, providing for authorization for the Public Safety Director to determine which one of the Winslow ambulance is the least desirable and to sell it.
Through the chair, can I just talk about this for just a second, Jeff? So the reason why this is on there is because last fall, apparently I had the purview of selling one of the ambulances. We found out that we had 3 new elected officials that came on, so I thought it was important and pertinent that everybody was involved in this discussion. And the third ambulance, we have 3 ambulances in the fire station. When we get our pumper truck back and our pickup back that is used for rescue and other services, one of those ambulances are gonna have to go back out in the parking lot. That ambulance, one of them sat out there for a year. And my argument is, if you own a horse, you have to feed it. And when you end up having a vehicle that's sitting outside in the weather all year long, it certainly deteriorates. So I wanted to open this up. The only concern that I have is Lee Trahan couldn't be here tonight, and he had some thoughts to contribute to this. So I'm wondering if it might not be a bad idea to table this item until when we have a full deck of councilors. So that we
Well,
can.
I was actually going to make a motion that we table this until we have further information anyway.
Okay.
Can I have a second on that or no?
I'll second it.
Yep.
Any discussion on that?
Do we discuss as in, you want to sell one of the 3 ambulances,
Well, if we're only using 2, there's no.
but we own all 3, correct?
We own all
We own
3.
all 3 of them. What's the replacement cost if we needed to purchase another one? We have been discussing doing transfers possibly down the road. We would need that ambulance.
Okay, so this, if we table it, this discussion will come
This-
up.
Okay, that's
It'll
what I
come
was
up,
just
it'll come
saying.
up later.
Okay.
We're just not gonna, basically not take any action on it at this point.
What was the discussion supposed to be on?
Which one to get rid of if we were gonna get rid of one.
If we were gonna get rid of one.
I mean, a motion to table it,
Okay.
and this will come up once we have further information.
This will come up on the agenda each and every month. going
Until we
forward,
decide
until
to
something
act.
is done
Thank
with
you
it.
so much.
In one way or another.
Thank you.
So a motion to table resolution 6-2024. Mike Joseph,
Yes.
Dale Macklin,
Yes.
Fran Hudson,
Yes.
Ray Karen.
Yes.
There was a second, right? Mike seconded.
No, that's right, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, sorry. Adam Lint
Yes.
and Jeff West.
Yes.
Motion to table passes 6-0. Okay, on to discussion items, the budget calendar.
Thank you, Audra. So I had sent out, or Audra had sent out with a packet, a copy of the proposed budget schedule that we have. I'm planning on getting the budget to the council on February 12th, which is the first meeting of February. At that point, March is when we step in and start going through the department heads' budgets as a council. And the first one starts on March 19th at 8:30 in the morning. We're going to be doing one on March 20th, March 21st, and the April 9th is when the school budget actually gets presented to you. Lee Trahan had requested that we change the hours on these, which I have no issues whatsoever, and I think that that was a discussion that Mike had
Yes, I
concerns.
won't be able to make it here the
Okay.
18th, 19th.
So
and
maybe
20th.
we can get some hard figures and dates where we can go and we can get this thing locked in and get it into the calendar. And I guess my first question is March 19th, okay for the council?
I can't make it here, I won't be here.
Okay, so Mike,
Nor will I be here on the 20th.
okay, so what if we go the week prior to that?
That would be fine.
Okay, will that give the council enough time from February 12th until probably, it'll be a month of review in the council? Is that enough, the budget, is that enough time for the council?
It is for me. I
Okay.
would believe so.
Okay, all right. So why don't I plan on working the week prior?
Okay, what time though?
Well, I mean, we can open that. 8:30 in the morning is too early for one of the council members.
What? Yeah, there's 4 of us that's working, so I think probably if we were talking about it earlier, about 3 o'clock, if we started at
Okay.
3 o'clock in the afternoon instead.
Okay, let me just look at my calendar, Mike.
Through the chair, I also want to mention, a lot of the public may want to go to some of those meetings, and a lot of the public work as well. Maybe later in the day, like you said, 3 o'clock on.
So March. So would you like to do March 12th, 13th, and 14th?
Yes, that would be fine for me.
13 and 14. So 3 o'clock in the afternoon is a start time. Does that work for people?
That's a little late in the day for some of that. Is noontime a possibility?
Not for people who work.
Say that
There's
again.
4 here, council that's
May
working.
municipals coming.
Okay, we just found we have a conflict on the 12th and 13th.
14th.
Maine Municipal Association is actually coming those days,
The 12th and the 14th.
the 12th and the 14th. So we can do the 13th. The 13th and 15th, Friday.
I don't know.
So the next question is, what about the week after on the 25th, March 25th? I mean, we could just make it a go of it.
That would be fine with me.
Okay, is there any conflict on the 25th? Because if we do it through the 25th through the 28th, I think that works on our schedules.
Is that starting at 3?
Starting at 3 o'clock is fine with me.
So did we scratch the one on the 13th?
Yeah, let's scratch the one on the 13th and do Monday, the 25th, Tuesday, the 26th, and then Wednesday, the 27th. And we'll make,
Can I just make one suggestion, Ella?
absolutely.
We have those 3 sessions. I think in the past what we've done, we've gone like 2 days, go Monday and Tuesday, skip Wednesday, and then do it Thursday, because that last day is the day that we put everything together,
Okay,
the whole package together. Up until then, it's one department at a time.
okay,
It gives us time, at least one day
okay,
to think about it and put everything together into one big.
okay. So the 25th, 26th, and the 28th, starting at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And ended at 6 PM. So 3 to 6. And I will arrange everything so that we can get in there and get everything in.
And that'll be here in this.
Yeah, we'll do that right here.
Are they gonna be televised?
Well, it depends on if you want to spend $275 per meeting to televise it. I don't think we have done that in the past, have we?
No.
And
If
we've
Chad's
increased our
available.
budget for that. What's that?
And if Chad's available.
Yeah, and the other thing is if we have somebody that's available to do the television. Right, right.
They're always advertised. And quite honestly, the only time we've ever seen somebody in is when we do the nonprofits. Then everybody shows up. But other than that, I don't think I've ever seen citizens in there for any budget discussions. In my 7 years.
If I might, through the chair.
Of course.
I think, I know that at times we've Facebooked the meetings. I think that at the very least, that would be a good thing to do is for the meetings, to set some type of documentation of the meetings. And I think that Facebook, streaming on Facebook and putting it on the website if we possibly, I think we can, that would be a more of appropriate and still saving money for that. But I'm in total favor of recording the meetings and having them for people to look at in the future if they have any questions, or even if we have questions about things that we said or voted on at that time. Is that a possibility?
I don't know how to do it, but I can figure it out.
Okay, let's
So I can,
at least work for that.
so I just have one question though. When we do a third-party request, or the orgs, I guess you guys call them, how important is it for them to actually come to these meetings? Do you need to have them do the presentations? I know that a lot of communities have stopped that. They come in there and do their spiel, and,
I mean, personally, if they put the request in,
Yep.
great.
Right.
If they don't put the request in, great.
I have found that many of them forget to show up, and if they do show up, they take a long time doing the presentations, and so I just wanted to go and throw that by you for consideration. Nobody has to make a decision on that tonight.
If I may, normally if a new organization is requesting money, it's pretty imperative that they come in and give a presentation, because I think if we have questions, then that's, we've denied people that
Right.
when they first request, if they don't come in, we can't ask them questions, it's hard to approve
Right,
that
right.
money. Organizations that we see year after year after year, but there are new counselors now, so, you know what I mean? So I guess I would encourage them to come in, but I wouldn't say it's a prerequisite for
Right,
them,
right.
If you've done it before, but
Right.
encourage it,
Right.
I mean,
but it's not mandatory.
I think the only time that I can think of, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, that we changed how we do things with an organization was Life Flight. Because we never used to give it to Life Flight. And the lady from Life Flight came in, did her presentation, and was amazing at it. And we all learned a lot. But most of the other organizations, it's pretty much the same presentation every year. So I don't see the need for them to be there unless the new counselors would like to hear what they have to say.
I would encourage it. Yeah,
it's
I would
usually-
encourage it, but I wouldn't say that it's mandatory.
Okay.
Any other thoughts on that?
No, not really.
So you're gonna see a little bit different on the budget as well, because on the manager's side of things, I have just gone down through the list, and my recommendation is $500 per organization. So if you had an organization that's recommending 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000, I put in 500. The council can do anything they want. What I've learned through the years that these organizations need to show community support for grants. The money really doesn't make a huge difference for them. So I just want to plant that seed for thought.
Good to know. Thank you. Are we good with that? Okay, moving on.
Okay, Fort Halifax cleanup, Paul?
This is pretty much just a food for thought. You guys all aware that we had a lot of damage at Fort Halifax. The structures are pretty much all destroyed. We've been in contact with the insurance. We're gonna keep going with the insurance. We need to find out, what they're gonna cover. We've pretty much been told if we don't rebuild, we don't get any money, like most insurance companies. I just want the council to have thoughts of what do you guys want? What do you guys want there? What do you want to replace?
The stage.
Junk.
Okay. Well, there was rumor that somebody thought it could be saved.
I wouldn't try it.
I wouldn't either, but.
And we've kept it fenced off. We've had people ask to take the fence down, but there's still holes that have washed out, places that people could fall in the hole, dangerous spots, so we've kept it closed off. Can't stop people from going in, but at least somebody gets hurt, that's hopefully it's not on us.
I guess, and I never say this, but do we have time to put a committee together to look at that?
Oh, absolutely, that's why I'm bringing it
I
up.
just didn't know what the timeline was with the insurance companies and whatnot.
Ella and I are gonna try to get together with MMA here in a week or so, to try to get some idea of, what they're looking for.
I mean, I think the stage
Moving
itself and the huts.
The huts are pretty simple, I mean, there's
but
one
I
left.
think the stage itself brings a lot to that park.
It does, but.
Is there a better position to put it in? Other than blocking off the view from the road?
I think the position is a good place, it just needs to be built differently to survive a flood, unfortunately.
Yeah. Probably raise it a little bit, maybe?
Yeah, about 4 or 5 feet.
Well, I mean, we gotta do what we gotta do.
But it was already up there probably 4 feet anyway. I mean, if you looked at it, actual height, it just
Yeah.
had stairs all the way around, but it was sitting on the ground on sonotubes, which obviously didn't hold it to the ground, and
Right,
it lifted up and swung around and buckled and
right.
How far
Went
did
for
that
it.
water come up? Did it come up to the tracks?
just about up to the tracks. It was all the way around the blockhouse.
Did nothing to the blockhouse.
No, and the blockhouse is sitting on piers now, so it's not gonna go anywhere.
Would it be better?
Actually, through the chair, it did get in the blockhouse. If you go in the blockhouse, it's silt, so it got about a foot high, so probably a timber and a half high in the blockhouse. But it went under the blockhouse, and sorry, through
No,
the
you're
chair.
fine.
It went, actually eroded underneath the blockhouse. And so, but the blockhouse is on these posts, and these posts anchors the bottom half of the structure. So the bottom half of the structure has a rod through it that's tied into these posts that are embedded into the ground. I don't quote me, but I wanna say as close to bedrock as possible. So that's what really, even in this time, probably saved the,
Probably. I mean,
probably
there's real
somewhat
good
from
pictures on the
moving
wall here of
anyway.
how it was rebuilt.
Because
so.
it would have eroded underneath and tilted the blockhouse, but because it's on these series of, I believe it's 12 posts or 15, maybe even more posts in the ground, it actually saved, and water went underneath the blockhouse, but the blockhouse stayed in place. So that was.
They
very
changed
good.
that when we had that first flood, right?
Yeah, in '87, when Stan Matthews built it and the state approved, that type of thing. If I might, through the chair, I'm not a big committee guy, because I've been on too many, but I think in this particular case, that forming a committee with like, maybe some members of the Friends of Fort Halifax, the Park and Rec Department, the Public Works Department, Carl, and, you and some other citizens that want to, because I think it's important to get everybody's opinion on the historical perspective of the area and places that, if we decide to move something or do something. I think it's important to have it's gonna be a lot of work, and investigating how to rebuild or what to rebuild and all this stuff, is that there's a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge of that, and getting a group together to, push forward some of these details instead of you and Ella working on this, and you guys got so much more to do that this group could spearhead a lot of that investigation, so.
No,
I think-
the only thing I want for Ella and I to work on, we need to figure out what direction you're gonna fund.
Right,
You
right.
know.
So, Ella, would it be possible to form a committee, and if we have names to be on that committee, would you be in favor of that type of situation?
Absolutely. I'll do
Okay.
anything you guys ask me to do.
Okay.
Yep, so I have no issues with committees. I actually enjoy working with them, and so.
Yeah, if anybody, I'd like to be on it, just, I do have some interest down there. But if anybody in the public that's listening, or anybody in the audience, or anybody on the council that wants to be on that committee, then just give their name to you, Ella,
Yes.
and just call in the town office, and we can start meeting and discussing maybe some of the issues, help. And it's not to formulate a great plan, but it's to help you guys out
Right.
in making sure that, you know, we do the things that we can help you investigate or, you know, in a helpful way, so.
I do have one question through the chair on this. A committee, if we form a committee, does that committee have to be approved by council? Is that the rules of operation? My experience is,
I
yes.
believe it
They're
does.
appointed by the council
Yeah.
to do it.
But it generally is a no-brainer, whoever.
Right, okay.
Because if you can find people to get on a committee, you're
I
lucky.
mean, that was my only reason tonight, was just to get you guys thinking about this as we move forward.
Yeah.
Because I get the feeling it's gonna get expensive, and I don't know how much the insurance is gonna cover.
I got a question to the chair.
Yeah.
Paul, is there a better place that you can put that stage than where it is right now? That would help if we had another flood?
On the other side of the road, but that's what you want. Sorry. I mean, we had water up to the tracks.
I don't think
so
O'Reilly would like that.
I think we need to, if we rebuild it, we need to rebuild it to survive a flood.
Okay.
One of the things, Michael, in that flood, of course, water's going north to south on that river.
Yeah.
And the back of that stage is so big, so it acted like, really, when the water hit that, it acted just like a wall, you know, just like, it just had, the water had no place to go, so it just slammed up against the back of that stage and just moved it, the force was so high, and it, you know, I think if it would've, if it, stage was flat, and it would've had some openings in the back of the stage, I think it would've damaged it, of course, but I think it would've stayed, you know, on the pilings, because once that water hit it, it just forced everything, even though they had rods going up from the cement pilings, I don't know how many, there's like 20 or 30 of them underneath that, and they were all, you know, on 4x4s or 6x4s or something, Paul, right? And then,
They're just small sonotubes. that
yeah,
are in the
and then
ground,
it
so.
just, you know, it didn't move the sonotubes, but it just pushed them right off everything and buckled the stage. And so I think if there would have been like a flow of the water to go over the top of it, it might not have done as much damage. So those are just things to think about, and I think placement, I think that would be open up for some you know, for some discussion too.
That's up to you guys.
Yeah.
Can I ask, how much did it cost to build that in the first place?
That was a
I have no
donation.
idea. It was a donation,
Oh, it was.
yeah.
But if I remember right, at the time, it was what, $70,000 or something like that? It was expensive.
For the stage alone?
No, this was a donation from the.
No, I mean for the stage, that's what it's,
Yeah,
70,000 just for
the
the
whole
stage?
stage
Wow.
building.
One of my suggestions would be there's a memorial picture on the back of the stage and then another plaque on the stage. If somehow, somewhat carefully, we could get those off
Yeah, we'll say whatever we can.
and save them before,
If we
you know
can
what I
get caught
mean?
up here and all
Yeah.
the disasters that have been flowing
Yeah,
through.
yeah, yeah, I know.
You got a nameplate on there, right? From Mary Simcox?
Yeah, Mary, yeah. And then there's another one too for
We'll,
somebody
we'll
else.
save everything that we can.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
That's all I got.
Food for thought for you guys to start thinking about it as we go forward. We're not gonna do anything till definitely springtime and maybe even be later. But it'd be good to know budget time too, a little bit, what's happening.
Right. Thank you, Paul.
You know, what concerns me down there, but is that it's just not damage to the buildings, the bank erosion and the unstabilization of the bank. And I'm not saying it's a cliff, but some of them are probably about 6 feet that, you know, it's just eight underneath. And you go up on the edge and you could fall into the rocks or into the water, actually. That's, to me, is more for long-term safety concern than some of the buildings there.
Well, that'll be something we have to look at if you wanna get into a stabilization project and rip wrap those banks, but that becomes a very large and expensive project.
I know.
Just, that's why we've kept it out, fenced off, so trying to keep people out.
Is there any state monies if we wanted to rip wrap that you might know of?
We'd probably have to go back to FEMA or somebody, I don't know.
Okay, just,
I haven't looked at it.
okay, thank you.
Okay, on to televising the council meetings, Ray?
Yeah, I think that, the very least is, we have new meetings now in February, March, April, and May, and then again in October, November, and December?
No, just October. We
Just
don't-
October?
Yeah.
Just for October?
December and November are one meeting per month.
One meeting, so just October in the fall, so that's
September and October.
September and October, that's a new 6?
No, we scheduled for 16 typically.
Yeah.
And this will bump us up to 19, so we have
Okay.
3 new meetings, about $900 are added to the cost. And Chad has already agreed to televise these.
Okay.
He's got the time available.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it, I think that's a good thing.
Update to the old junior high building, again, Ray?
Yeah, this is me. I think some of you have the agenda. I just wanted to go through the agenda. Just to give you a short history of the old junior high. Obviously, right now, the old junior high is boarded up. It's been boarded up now for about 3 years. We used it in the first year of the COVID for the 6th graders. Went back over to the thing. And now the old junior high school is owned by the town of Winslow. So the town of Winslow owns the junior high school. And if you looked at the agenda, discussion of the current state of the building, currently the building has no water. I don't believe it has any electricity, matter of fact, I know it doesn't. It's had some significant roof damage, and obviously the visual condition of the old junior high school is deteriorating year after year. As far as site environmental hazards go, obviously, the site has oil, and we'll go into that a little bit later, and asbestos inside the building. Environmental issues, again, I just said, the asbestos we just received from Craig Wilson, our environmental guy that's working on this junior high project of the asbestos report that we had there. So Ellen, maybe you can summarize what that report said.
Basically, it shows that there's quote-unquote tons and tons and tons of asbestos in the building. It's in the floors, it's in the walls, and it's in the ceilings. It's gonna be a huge project to remove that. The oil tanks, it's got bunker C oil in the tanks, and he said that makes heat and oil look nice. It's migrated away from the tanks, it's percolating up to the ground. It could be as far into the football field, it could be into the buildings next door, we don't know that. So it's a matter of actually going in there and doing some testing on it. So it is a huge project. And this building has been there, and it's not a good situation at all.
So, yeah, so it's responsibility of the town to remedy this issue, well, that's just the way it is. We own the building. We need to do, as Ella said, asbestos removal, a demolition of the new and the old portion of the building, and then the site work, as Ella mentioned, with the oil surface mitigation, and then we need to determine the infiltration and the removal of the tanks and the contaminated soil. Also, a history of the old junior high school is when the bond went out, originally in the bond, for the first bond that went to the public, there was $1 million in that bond for demolition of the junior high school. When it got defeated at the polls, or in the committee, I can't remember, I think it was at the referendum, then we eliminated, I did not eliminate it, but it was eliminated, that $1 million for demolition of the junior high school from that bond to get the bond down so that it was then viewed that it would be more able to pass in a referendum. That bond did pass in a referendum without the demolition cost into that bond issue. So then the school used it for a year, and after they said they didn't want anything, the land and the school is now the responsibility of the town of Winslow. We did, at that time, the council formed a committee and said that, hey, is there any other use that we could have for that old junior high school building? We met and met and met, and it was, we had a lot of what I would say, individuals come and said, I'd like to put a aerobic studio, I'd like to put a craft studio, but the group didn't feel that they had the pockets or the deep money enough to invest in maintaining the whole building and making sure that it was going to. So we had a lot of discussions, and then came along KV Cap, and I'm not gonna go into the whole discussions with KV Cap, but in the end, KV Cap said, we'll take the building, and what we'll do is we don't want the whole building. We want all the new section out back. We want half of the old section, and that is if you're right in front, to the right would be, they would take that section. We would redo the gymnasium, redo the auditorium, bring up the code, bring up the 7 classrooms on that side, and the outside, the exterior of the building to code, mitigate, and then they said they were gonna put in 43 apartments into that building. And then, at that present time, and I'm hope I'm just portraying what the council decision was at that time. At that time, the council said, that land was too valuable, we don't wanna give up that land. And KV Cap, they sent KV Cap pretty much on their way and said, you know, we're not interested, we're going to do the work on the building, we're gonna demolish the building, we're gonna make it, and we're gonna keep that land as land for the part of Winslow. So that's kind of a really history, and if anybody on the council that was on the council at that time has any further, information on that. Ella, do you have, I know you've talked to Dave Pelton in the last week.
The project's still viable for KV Cap, and the only reason it's still viable is because of the historical tax credits. It's approximately $1 million worth of tax credits on that property. As far as the site cleanup, that would be in their ballpark if they took this project on. And they're looking at it right now, after they've learned the extent of the contamination, if it's viable enough to move forward with, because this is a new development with the extent of the contamination.
Yep, so, I guess what I'm, yep, go ahead.
The only other thing with the KV Cap deal last time was they wanted the town to either take over a portion of that building and be responsible for the rent. So we'd either have to A, pay them rent out of our pockets, or B, find people to go in there that would cover our cost of that rent. That was part of the reason it got voted down.
Yep, so they said, so part of that rental agreement was that they would maintain our section of the building. So that was part of a maintenance fee, rental and maintenance fee, so that they would be responsible for any defect or any heating or lighting or electrical problem. They would also put in a new elevator for that section of the building, because the old section of the building, a new section of the building actually has an elevator. Because of ADA, they would bring it up to ADA code, we need to have an elevator, because it's 2 levels, we need access to that second floor. So they were also gonna put in an elevator. And then at some point, we never did negotiate what the rent was going to be, what that maintenance agreement was going to be for them to maintain that particular part. That was, obviously, I was involved pretty heavily with that. The council voted that down. We have a new council now. We're looking at, I think, we're looking at, if we, and this is what will be my recommendation, if we don't want KB Cap to be involved or investigate that, then in 2024, this year, for this budget season, my recommendation would be to acquire quotes for asbestos removal for that building from Craig Wilson. And if we acquire quotes, then we're pretty much committed for this, in my opinion, we are pretty much committed for this budget season for asbestos removal in 2024. We will remove the asbestos, and again, I don't want to put an estimate. He did not, Craig Wilson did not put an estimate on the place because, on the asbestos removal, because he feels that it's too volatile now, so we would have to put that out. And I think, we have an obligation to take care of the properties in the town of Winslow, especially if they're full of asbestos, and as they deteriorate, then the chances of even more further cost, or that cost increasing through the years. And determine, in 2024, also determine the extent of oil infiltration of neighboring properties, football field, apartment complex, adjacent properties. We need to understand what that oil was. That would be in the 2024 budget. And then in 2025 would be the demolition of the building, and then the site work, and then also in 2025 would be the removal of the old tanks and soil decontamination. That would be, and this is open for discussion. I'm just bringing it up for discussion, but, so
I have a
I'd like to
question,
see
Ray.
what other people's thoughts are on this matter.
What do you believe that it would cost the town of Winslow to remove the asbestos, the oil contamination, and tearing down that building? Are we looking at $1.2, $1.4 million? And what after that, what do we use it for? A parking lot? That's a lot of money. I would think that we'd probably try to visit the same for KV Cap and ask them and say if they would revisit the thing, because right now it's going to cost us a fortune to do this, and we're not going to get anything out of it. All we're going to get is a glorified parking lot.
I'm probably not a good person to ask that question, just because I worked 1.5 years on this committee, with the idea that, if we did find a viable. So, I don't know if KV Cap is still interested, or whether that's a viable option or not. Like I said, I was on the committee, so I'm kind of biased, I would think that the cost, I'm not a good estimator of cost, but I would think with the asbestos, the oil and everything, I couldn't see that it would be done for under $1 million, but
No.
I don't know. Ella, do you have any experience?
No,
in
I
your
don't,
field?
but I think, Mike, you're probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Do we know if the oil contamination would fall under a super site?
Well, we talked about, and that's, KV Cap's gonna be talking with KV Cog because they work with Brownfield. And, this could be considered a Brownfield site. And if that happens, that's gonna certainly make it more viable for them to move into it. I think their concern right now is actually the depth of contamination. Regardless if it's the town of Winslow or if it's KV Cap, it's gonna be a big project. And, this has been ignored for a long time, and unfortunately, that's what happens in these communities. Costs a lot of money.
Through the chair. Done, right?
I'm not done, but I can shut up for a few minutes, that's for sure.
It seems to me that these two things, Ray, are gonna have to go almost simultaneously. We go through your schedule of 24, 25, and whatever. And KV Cap is on the same schedule, so to speak. And we can find out if KV Cap might come back and offer us one hell of a deal. Who the hell knows? We don't know that. These numbers may be twice or 3 times what they are. So until you get something solid from KV Cap and more solid on these numbers, what can we do? We need those numbers to make the right decision.
How
That would
far out is,
include KV Cap proposals, or from anybody. Somebody else may be interested in it other than KV Cap.
Well, if you go the route of removing the asbestos and taking care of the tank,
I mean, the building's still, I know you gotta put a roof on it, but it's a building. What they're doing in Waterville, the old Hathaway. And I know that's a different situation, but.
Do we know when Craig's gonna have the final product to us?
I've got 2 surveys I gotta do, and I haven't had a chance to even open them up and look at them yet. So as soon as I get that done, you know, I, to be honest with you, looking at it from the outside, looking in, I think if KV Cap is willing to step in and do something like that, I know the value of the land is huge. And, you know, and I know if that site is cleaned up, you know, it opens up all kinds of opportunities for the town of Winslow. Future municipal buildings, you know, however you want to look at it, because you got to remember, and I've said this time and time again, it's our responsibility to make sure this town is here for future generations, and if that's a site that we can use, then it'd be foolish not to do it. It's just like us not having cemeteries. It blows my mind that we don't have a place we can bury somebody in this town. So, I think KV Cap's a viable option. I think that, you know, it brings in more tax dollars, it brings in, you know, families that, that spend money in town, so.
They were going, I know, they were going to bring the gymnasium up to code. They were gonna bring the auditorium up to code, all fire code, fix it up, fix those 7 classrooms, put an elevator in, and then we would get the use of the gym, get the use of the auditorium, and get the use of the 7 classrooms on the 2 floors, plus a new elevator. I think you can't ignore that type of, you know, and I know I know the value of the property. I do know the value of the property. But if you look at $1.5 million on, you know, even if we bonded onto another bond. Now, whatever the decision of the council, I don't, you know what I mean? I'll live with, and I know that this has been a topic for me. I'll live with that, and it doesn't, you know, that's fine with the decision, but
I think.
we're gonna move on it. We're gonna move on it. Every day, every meeting, when I come here, I'm gonna bring this up, and I'm gonna push this issue till I get some type of resolution on this issue.
I think Dale makes a very good point. We need to see where KV Cap's gonna take this.
Yeah.
Because if they come in and say, we're not gonna do it unless the town of Winslow puts another $2 million behind it,
Yeah.
then maybe we need to revisit our options. But I think that's a critical point right now, right?
Yep, okay, let's,
We need hard numbers as well.
And Eleanor, I agree with that, and Louis, I agree with you too. KV Cap might not be the only one out there that wants that building. How do we know that without putting something out and asking? There may be some development company that wants to do another Hathaway on 1/10 of the scale. Who knows?
we put an RFP out there. KV Cap was the only person that wanted to, after a year and a half of interview after interview with, giving tours in that building with numerous people, KV Cap was the only viable option. And with the asbestos and with the mitigation that's involved with that, you better have somebody with some deep pockets there.
Right, well,
We
and
gotta
the
find
other,
that out,
the other
right?
thing.
We did find it out, we did find it out.
That was 3 years
2.5
ago.
years, or 2 years of work.
Through the chair, why didn't it go through? What happened with KV Cap?
The council voted it down 5-2.
I think if you're gonna start looking for other people to invest in the building, I'm with Ray. I don't think we can continue putting this off. This was made to the people years ago, and it needs to be taken care of. If it's gonna take a long time to send it out to everybody, or KV Cap, if it's going to be, tear it down.
Tear it down.
Tear it
But
down.
we need to move on both issues at the same time. I'm not,
Through the chair,
through the chair, again, I've been waiting for Craig Wilson for almost 3 years now. We've waited and waited. He's not gonna give us our numbers. He said in his report for asbestos, I will not give you valuation. A valuation, you have to put it out to bid. So everything has to go out to bid now, and that's it. He will not give us that.
through the chair.
Go ahead, Mike.
Ray, if you wanted to have a committee on that, I'll be glad to help you with that, because I think that would save the town a lot of money, and then we'd have some more use out of that building if we can get KV to do so.
Ella, Ella, in your experience, and, you know, first of all, I don't mean to point to you as a problem here. You're coming in here, your first month, and you've been thrown with this demolition.
This is easy stuff.
Yeah, but it's not, I just wanna say, it's not blaming you or anything to do with you on
So
this issue.
let me just kind of back up a little bit here. When you start bringing private operations in to take care of a property like this, most of the time they're looking for help from the town, whether it's through tax increment financing, credit enhancement agreements. KV Cap is not looking for that. And when they ask for credit enhancement agreements through a town, it costs you as taxpayers money out of your pocket, right? I mean, that's taking away your tax dollars and it's putting into giving it to somebody else to do something. KV Cap is not asking for that. I think what it boils down to is if you choose not to go with KV Cap's plan, if they provide one for you, then you need to look at the fact, like Fran said, tear the building down, clean the site up, and use it for future use for the town of Winslow, because you're going to need it at some point in time, because regardless if you know it or not, this town is gonna continue to grow, and we're gonna need real estate, okay? So, I think there's two viable options, and I think we just kinda let KV Cap do it. As far as Craig Wilson, I don't know the man. I mean, I've talked with him a few times on the phone. He seems very knowledgeable.
Oh, no question.
And, you know, and the ball is in my park right now, and I just haven't had a chance to sit down and do those.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and regardless, either way, we still need these hard numbers.
And that's what we're waiting for.
I've been waiting.
Well, no, I'm talking just for us to
hard
go
numbers.
out.
I've been waiting for I'm sorry, I've been waiting a long time. I'm very frustrated with this situation, because I can know that I would come back here at the next January meeting in 2025, and people would be asked, where's the hard number? That place is deteriorating and deteriorating. And so I've been waiting 2.5 years for hard numbers. He said in his report, he's not giving us hard numbers. He's not giving us hard numbers unless we, the town of Winslow, put it out to bid.
All right, why don't we put it out to bid?
Well, you have to put it out to bid. He can only guesstimate how much the asbestos removal will cost, how much the oil removal will cost. We're still gonna have to get those numbers.
Yes, we are.
And he's got his report all done, these companies that are gonna
Wait
give
for
us
KV.
estimates on that.
Wait for KV.
We'll use his report to go by, like they always do in
Okay,
that
that's
business.
all. I just
And-
went up for
and
discussion, that's all.
Put it out to bid.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Ray, this has been going on for too long, there's no doubt about that. These things should have been done two years ago.
And there's very, very, very few of them in the country that does what he does. And that's been the holdup, because he does a lot of work out in Texas, I believe.
Yeah, right. Half of that building only has asbestos, right? The new section does not have asbestos.
That I don't know. I don't know personally.
And I don't think it does, because when that was built, that does not have asbestos. So the old brick building, the old school, junior high that we all went to school in, could be torn down. That section there, which would save us a lot of money. The new section that was built in the junior high can be used for classes, and the cafeteria can be used for rent, for money, for.
Well, just a little backstory on that. We did look into that a little bit, and they said to retrofit, correct me if I'm wrong, right? To remove the old building and detach it from the new building, the cost was substantial. It was actually cheaper.
I have a hard time believing that. I mean,
That's what the
that
pros told us.
cafeteria is nice. I mean, it can.
I don't disagree. I don't
And
see a problem with that
And the new
intersection.
section, that wing there is still in good shape. And as for the.
It's
oil
actually built
tank-
better than stuff they build nowadays, to be honest with you.
As for the oil tank, I think you have so much time, if it's not in use, that you have to take that oil out of there because of DEP and everything.
Is there oil in the tank right now?
Yeah, there's bunker C in the tank.
Why don't they take it out so it doesn't leak anymore?
Because
To
it's
stop contamination.
it's molasses,
Oh,
and you have to heat it to
okay,
get it
yeah,
out.
yeah, you have to heat it to get it out.
Oh, whatever it is.
Salt gel.
You got pumps that pump that out. You know that, right?
Oh,
Look at the stuff we pumped at the mill. Come on.
I'm frustrated. I can't tell you.
Through the chair?
Yes.
So can we get two things going then? Ella, can you work on something to do with estimates?
So,
Hopefully,
Let me ask
within
you,
the next couple of
don't
months?
you think it makes more sense to let KV Cog do their things? They come, because they're gonna get all the estimates for this stuff. Do you wanna duplicate the work that they're currently
Are they
doing?
gonna have it by the time we do our budgets?
Well, I don't think we're gonna get much of anything into this year's budget if you're looking at that kind of money. I mean, we've got all this new equipment that needs to be purchased, and they wanna buy fire trucks and all that stuff. You throw another $400,000 into it, along with the increases that the school department's gonna have, I think we need to take a deep breath and just let this thing work its way through the process. And I think it's already in the process with KV Cog. So let's see where they come up with. I don't see how it's going to be possible to get an extra $400,000 to $500,000 or $600,000 into this budget without costing the taxpayers a ton of money. You know, the cost of our operations are continuing to go up. And school department got hit with a lot of new costs this year because of lack of funding from the state. So I think that we need to just let the process work.
And through the chair, sorry, Jeff, to
No,
extend
you're
this
fine.
conversation. Through the chair, could Ella, you and I meet with Dave Pelton from KV Cap, if it's okay with the rest of you guys, meet with Dave from KV Cap, and maybe at the second meeting in February, he could come and give us a presentation as to what he's working on and what the plans were and whether it's a viable option or not.
We can meet with him, but this is already working, it's already on his plate. He's already working on this.
Is
You wanna
he?
wait until he gets something done? Well, I mean, that was a conversation I had with him. I mean, I think we need to just take a deep breath. I understand you wanna get this done yesterday, Ray. I know that, okay? But let the process work.
Where are you gonna get the funding on it? You can't borrow if you tear it down. You can't bond that issue. You're gonna be stuck. If it comes in at $2 or $3 million, you're gonna be going back to square one. And I've done work on stuff like this before at my job.
Ella, do you have any?
I understand,
Any-
I'm sorry.
any-
I understand that, Jerry. I do understand that issue, but we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to clean that site up and to make sure that that site is safe. That's our responsibility. That's the town of Winslow's responsibility.
As soon as we can.
When we took the $1 million out of the bond to try to make it attractive, and then we've been kicking this can down the road for the last 3 years, we have a responsibility. It's a hazardous site. It's right near our school system. We don't know where the contamination is or anything. We have an obligation to, we can't have a property maintenance agreement in the town of Winslow. And the property that the town of Winslow owns is dilapidated. It's a good thing we voted to take the guts out of the enforcement portion of the property maintenance, because they could come to us and the neighbor could complain that we have a deteriorated building, and, you know, and according to enforcement,
We didn't take any guts out of the property maintenance ordinance.
Ella, could you look into, I know we could bond this separately, but is there any, we've got some other big bonds that are gonna be coming up in the next, that we're gonna have to bond. Adding this, if the money is here, if that's the route we're gonna go, to add this to another bond, well, we're gonna be bonding for, Sunset Heights or some other, those projects.
See, and you've
that are-
got all these.
Can we
you've got-
add this to that, to another bond?
We can bond money, but the bottom line is we're borrowing money. And the town of Winslow is in debt up to our eyeballs. You know, so we need to start working this debt down. And if we have an opportunity with KV Cap to come in, then we need to take advantage of that opportunity. I was surprised when I came in and saw all the bonds that we have. And all the interest that we're paying all these bonds. We shouldn't be that way. And it's too easy for us to jump into another bond to pay for something when maybe what we should be doing is taking advantage of the opportunities. I will gladly do that for you. I'll gladly go in and see what we have for available credit, and if we want to bond more bonds, we just bonded $6.8 million for Chafee Brook. So there's another $437 a year that we'll be paying in mortgage payments on that. And we have the Sunset Heights project coming up, which is going to be, $40 million or so, and that's going to be a huge commitment by the town of Winslow. And so, I mean, we want to lower property taxes in this town.
Could you just make sure that Dave
I will
understands the
be on
council's
top of this, Ray.
intention and
Absolutely.
that we're
Yeah.
there? Okay, that's all, that's it.
Okay, we good?
Oh, God.
Per diem paramedics, Mike Joseph.
Yeah, Lenny, could you come up and explain to us on the per diems?
Absolutely. Good evening, councilors, people of Winslow. As the town manager just said, we're watching every penny. We've got some money problems at this point, but I work for the councilors and I work for the town manager, so whatever way you direct me with money, it's my job to tell you where we are, and it's your job to tell me where you want me to go. So when I looked at the budget a couple weeks ago, we have, in the fire department, we have two line items that made me really concerned. Our overtime line for the year is $110,000 we're allotted. We're already at $90,000. The part-time line is $65,000 we're allotted. That's where the per diem paramedics come out of. We've already spent $54,000, so we're running out of money. If I kept going the way we were going, we would be in big trouble. For a paramedic, it's $720 a day, and if we fill a paramedic every day from now to the end of the year, it's gonna be $113,000 over. That's a lot of money. So what we need to do was I talked to Mike Murphy, and believe me, these decisions are not made easy. I speak to the town manager daily, and I speak to Mike Murphy daily. And we did everything we can to try to keep the money the way it is. What's helped us out so far, right now, the fire department budget is at the 50% mark, and the only reason we're at that 50% mark is because we have not filled 3 positions. Now we're gonna be down 4 positions. So we're down 4 positions in the police department, we're down 4 positions in the fire department. What Mike Murphy told me, who's the expert, is that 95% of the time ambulances go out, they don't need a paramedic, they need a advanced EMT. So having said that, we looked at different things. Mike's been looking into talking to Clinton. I know he's talked to Waterville, and with Delta, we're trying to have a way where we can do intercepts to save money. But if you tell me tonight to start hiring a paramedic, I'm telling you, you're gonna go over in your budget, probably $134,000 you're gonna go over by the end of the year. We're gonna save some money if we don't fill those 3 positions, but that wasn't the intent, not to fill the 3 positions. So what's going on right now is we need to train our people. The sad thing is, when Ronnie talked about the ambulance service, he also talked about hiring paramedics. When you were given the last 4 positions, he told you he was gonna have 3 paramedics. We've got no paramedics working for the town of Winslow right now. That's a problem. What I'd like to see us do is get our people trained. I've talked to the captains. You have 3 captains, one's an advanced EMT, and you have a deputy chief who's an advanced EMT. The rest of the captains have no desire to go back to school. Now, you have some younger firefighters who want to go to school, and they're trying to get trained, but some of the older people don't want to. So I look at it, yes, I'm not an expert by any means, but I've spent the last year looking into this and talking to people as while we had that committee a week ago, is because we're trying to get the facts, myself and the town manager. And when we made the decision to stop per diem people, it was a tough decision, but we still have 3 people working on a shift. And the other thing that's going on right now is Dr. Pay has put together a program called MD3. And Monday through Friday, during working hours, they have a doctor on call. In fact, 2 weeks ago, he came to 2 of our calls and helped us out. So it's not like we're left out in the dryer. We can go to an intercept if we need a paramedic, which if you look at the calls for intercepts, that we actually need a paramedic, I've got the stats in here, I can get them, but there's very few times that we actually need a paramedic. But like I said, having said that, if you direct me to hire a paramedic, I'll hire a paramedic as long as you know you're gonna go over 134,000 by the end of the year, if we fill the 3 positions. If we don't fill the 3 positions, you'll be still in the hole $41,000. So believe me, these decisions aren't made just to not give a good service. I'd love to hire as many people as you want. The reason why this budget got in such turmoil was because for the first 3 or 4 months, they were hiring 5 people to work. And per their union contract, we're only demanded, we only have to hire 2 firefighters. But the council, last time around, and the council, correct me if I'm wrong, what they did when they hired the extra people, the agreement was, in a perfect world, they'll have 4 firefighters working on a shift. If someone calls in sick or gets hurt or is in school, then they would run with 3. And that's what we're running with right now is 3. If we go down to 2, I hire the 3rd one. If you want me to go back up and hire a 4th person, you're gonna have to pay for the per diem person. So I guess I'm looking for direction from the council. There's really no hard feelings. I get along with all the firefighters and police officers. We're just trying to do the best job we can for the amount of money. Right now, the police department, because it's one department, the police department is only spent 42% of the budget. So the police department right now is in pretty good shape, but I don't really want to take any credit for that. That's because we're down 3 people, we're down a 4th person who left to go to Orono for $10 more an hour. So that's where we're at. So can I answer any more questions, if you like?
Yeah, you were bringing up the police department, and now we've been short 4 people for how long?
We've been short 3.
We've been short 3?
We just went down a 4th because you got a job off with a brand-new police officer we just put through the academy. He's been out a year, got off, he's gonna make $10 more an hour to go somewhere else.
Okay. The other thing is that how many people do we have working at night in Winslow?
For police?
Yes.
Most times on the weekends, we got 1 person working on the weekends, which is our weak spot. That's why we'd love to fill the other 3 positions, because we would like to have always 2 people, but a lot of times we only have 1. Now, the sergeant comes in at 3 o'clock, and usually from 3 o'clock till 3 in the morning, we have 2 people working. But when we're shorthanded like we are right now, a lot of times we only have 1. Like
Have you done anything as far as gone to any job fairs and see if we can recruit more police officers to come in here?
I can tell you right now, this is a nationwide problem. We're not even getting applications. And we've did everything we can think of. We've actually started an apprentice program with the counselors last time. And we basically had a person come in here with 0 training, and the person that was hired did not work out. But I've never seen that in my 34 years where we take someone in with no training at all, and we actually walked them through every step. And we've had a couple other applicants, and they just, when we get them all ready to go, someone else offers them more money. And that's why one of the things we were gonna ask for is to try to higher up entrance level pay. But, like I said, we're very cognizant right now, like the town manager said, this town, I've never seen anything. It's like the last 3 years I've been here, they spend money like a drunken sailor. That's the best way I can put it. I've never seen so much money spent.
How many cars do we have?
How many?
How many cars does Winslow have, police cars?
We have 7.
7? And how many are operating?
All 7.
All 7 going at the same
No,
time?
not at the same time, no.
So why do we have so many if we only have 1 or 2 people on at night?
Because we have different cars with different shifts, and they're on routines. I don't have the breakdown in front of me, but Sergeant Lund is the one that is in charge of the vehicles. They're on a rotating thing. We rotate a new vehicle out every year, and basically, for the amount of miles, we rotate them when they're not worth any more money. So, but I don't want to tell you off the top of my head, but there's a reason why we have 7 vehicles.
Okay. Yes.
Can I speak through the chair on this? These are pursuit vehicles, and 100,000 miles on a police vehicle, it's worn out because they're hard stops, hard acceleration, everything on them just gets worn out on them. So you can't really effectively keep a vehicle after 100,000 miles.
Yeah, I was just questioning why we had so many of them.
Yeah. And I'd give you a better explanation next time if you want.
Okay.
I just don't have it in front of me.
Okay, now on the other thing, on the fire department, we have 4 people missing. Actually, it's supposed to be 13 on that, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
When you're at full staff, not
Full
counting
staff.
me, because
Right.
I'm split between
It's
police
supposed
and
to be
fire. You
13.
have 13 on the fire and 12 on police.
So we're over on the overtime. Is that correct? I'm paying
Yes.
overtime? Okay, so if we don't fill those positions, we're actually paying time and a half. If those positions would have been filled, we're paying time and a half for people to fill in those positions, we would be saving a lot more money.
Well, right now, Mike, right now, we're leaving 3 person on a shift. So you have 2 shifts that are fully manned at 3 people, plus during the day, Monday through Friday, Mike Murphy, the deputy chief, helps on calls too. You got 1 shift right now that's down to 2 people, which we're hiring the 3rd person. So they rotate every 3 days. So once every 3 days, you're hiring your 3rd person at time and a half. And I've left it up to Mike to basically hire whether he thinks he needs a per diem person or he needs to hire a firefighter at time and a half. That's his call. So what they wanted to do, what we were doing until I stopped it, when all this stuff started, was they were hiring the 3 people, then they were actually hiring a 4th person as a per diem paramedic at $720 a day. And that's when I spoke to Ella and I spoke to Mike, Deputy Chief Murphy, and we decided that we weren't gonna do that because the budget was in trouble.
Now, on that, the per diems, when was that stopped? Was that stopped on January 2nd?
I wrote an email to January 2nd. I wrote an email to the town manager and to Mike Murphy.
And the people that were scheduled for those per diems, were they told just hours before they were all done?
I don't know if it was hours before. I know that when I talked to Mike, I believe it was a couple days' notice, but it might not have been.
Well, I think there's one of them that was actually scheduled for the next day and wound up having to say that she wasn't working.
Well, these are tough decisions, Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be the first one to admit it, and I didn't make it myself. I'll take full responsibility, but I did run it by the town manager and Deputy Chief Murphy. Like I said, my job is to keep the budget in control. You guys got elected off of saving money, and I'll do whatever you want me to do. I really think $720 a day is ridiculous.
I'm more concerned about the public safety if we didn't have a paramedic on the scene, if we needed a paramedic the following day where this was always called off. I don't know, Fran, you might have some information that might be helpful to that.
I think some of it might be repetitive, but I don't want you to think that I haven't looked into it. From every department in Winslow has given me all the numbers. The fire department is projected to being over $225,000 over budgeted. That's a lot. That is a lot. So they had 4 firefighters. Whenever one called out, they put another one in full-time, double overtime. So then they figured out, stop doing that. When one calls out, use a per diem paramedic because you're not paying them double time. They started saving money, isn't that correct, when you did that?
I think you're talking about revenue, Fran.
No,
Okay.
Ella, no, I'm not. Ella,
Okay, well-
didn't we start saving money once they stopped filling the 4th firefighter position with a per diem? You told me you were saving money.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. I think we might have been saving money when we stopped filling that.
Right, so we stopped. It makes sense you're gonna stop doing that. But then what's happened is the fire department is a great service. The guys, the gals, they all do a great job, but they are hurting, desperately hurting. It is broken. The ambulance service is running quite well. So what they're doing is they're taking from what's quite well to fix the broken, and you're gonna get 2 brokens. And you have by removing those paramedics. And no matter what you say, I can print them out and give it to everybody in Winslow. The numbers are, what you're saying are not correct.
Well, right
They
now-
are not costing us any money to use them. They go on one call at $720 that shift. One call, the ambulance made that money back plus every call they go on. So they're not.
So Fran, I just want to clarify one thing. Public Safety Director McDade and I don't care if we've got 20 firefighters sitting in that. It's up to you to make that decision, okay? All we're trying to do, we were told that if this budget is over, it's going to be our responsibility. So when you end up with a budget that's over, you're going to cut back where you have to cut back. And if that's overtime, that's overtime. And that's exactly what we did. Now, if this council as a whole sits here and says, Ella, we want to find your firefighters, find your paramedics, great, we're going to do it. You just have to understand that it's probably going to be over budget by that. I gave you a budget, the numbers, back in January, not January, I think it was
month ago.
December.
Yep.
And it was showing that we're, at the rate we're going, we're gonna be $220,000 over budget. At that point in time, we put the brakes on. Any business person would do the same thing.
Thank you.
If I might, through the chair.
Can I just finish, please?
sure.
I don't quite understand how you think removing paramedics is saving you any money. I've just explained. You're not saving any money. You're not losing money. You're trying to take what's good to fix what is very badly messed up.
Okay,
But you say it's gonna cost $113,000 to use those paramedics.
No,
We
no,
cleared
134.
$135,000, so you're still gonna make money.
But Fran, I think you're confusing revenue and expenses.
No, I'm not. I'm going with the numbers you just quoted. And I have
'Cause
the revenue here, which is 135 cleared. I have the gross. What numbers do you think I've got mixed up? I'm not saying,
Okay, well, you're at $54,000 out of 65 spent for your part-time line. I'm advising you, you're gonna go way over if you continue. If
how
you
did
wanna
that
take the
get so
money
bad in the first place? Why is it all of a sudden you're
because
trying to
they,
fix
they originally allotted
225,000?
2 per diem people a week.
And you
and they were-
removed one,
They were filling 7.
and you started saving money, and then you went on further with the paramedics.
I don't know what you're talking about removed.
You took every paramedic off the shifts for the next 2 months. There isn't a paramedic working for Winslow, not one any day.
Mike Murphy told me 95% of the time you don't need a paramedic when
Do
you
you
go on an
want
ambulance
not to
call.
have that paramedic on the one
If
call you need it?
I will start hiring a paramedic tomorrow at
Good,
$720.
then put the
if you tell
paramedics
me-
back on.
I want the full support of the council
And
because
maybe with a show of hands?
If I might, through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Are you done, Fran?
Yes, I am.
Okay, if I might, through the chair.
yes, sir.
When we started this ambulance service, okay, I don't know if we were promised, but we had people working within the department to become paramedics. And the goal was at that point in time of the 4 people, or the 4 people on a shift, that one of those would be trained as a paramedic on that shift. Now, when I call up, when I have an accident at home, or my granddaughter, or my son, or I don't have a son, or my daughter, or somebody I want a paramedic to come. For all the time when we had with Delta, when we called, we knew we were gonna get a paramedic at our house. It might be, and when we went into this service for the fire department, it was with the thing that we went in because, yeah, there was a little bit of revenue, not much, but we were gonna get quicker response times, because Delta sometime did not have a rig and sometime they didn't. So we said, let's go. We knew at the time we started that we were low on paramedics, but they were in school and we were gonna have paramedics. That was 4 per shift, and one of them was gonna be a paramedic. Now, we're filling 3 per shift, right? 3 per shift, and we're doing per diem paramedics. For the safety of the town of Winslow, it is my feeling that when I call emergency department and I'm running a transportation of ambulance and they're gonna come to my house, I want a paramedic to be able to come to my house. That's it. And this can't be a long-term solution. It can't be. We can't afford this long-term. But for a short-term solution, I think we're gonna have to eat this overtime and this per diem just because I think we owe it to the people of the town of Winslow is that when we have an ambulance service and they come to my house, I don't want a paramedic. I don't want somebody in some place determining whether this is an Alpha Charlie or whatever call it is. I'm assuming that every emergency call I get is that I'm gonna need advanced life support. Or at least have the opportunity to get advanced life support.
What we're paying for.
Question? Phil Carey, Tyler again. My question is, the money that's, the revenues come in from the insurance company from a call, why isn't that money staying with the ambulance service?
It does.
To cover expenses?
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does, Fran. That's how they got their
You said it
4th.
was a general fund. It was going into a general
Can I
fund.
explain?
Go ahead.
The 4th person that we added to the fire department per shift was based on ambulance revenues. So that money is already in their budget ahead of time before we even get the money.
When we set up the ambulance service, it was an enterprise account to keep all revenues made by the ambulance in that enterprise account, don't tell me no, I got those numbers as well. There was an for at least the first
That
year
was- that
until
was
the
just a
council.
show.
I'm not finished
what we were
now.
taking.
I'm not finished.
I wasn't finished either, and you interrupted me.
Okay.
So, my point is, that money is already in their budget. But it's in their budget before they even get it. Am I wrong?
Are you finished?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
What happened with this overtime? And if you remember correctly, because you were there and you heard a lot of this, when we added that fourth person per shift, it was for a minimum staffing of 3. So in a perfect world, you had 4 people working. Were you on the same page there?
I've been on the same page since the very beginning.
Okay, so when somebody is out, one person's out sick, it's a minimum staffing of 3. You don't fill that fourth
But
position.
they were.
They were. And they were adding a per diem paramedic on top of
That's
that.
how you got over budget.
That's how the over budget
Right.
came.
And now we're back down to 3. And you
Correct.
should be filling it with a 4th paramedic.
No, that's not what a minimum staffing of 3 is. A minimum staffing of 3 is a minimum of 3 people working that shift.
Okay. Can I?
That's how the overtime budget went way over.
Scott Holtz again. I agree with Mr., the public safety director here, when it comes to, Winslow did have some paramedics, right? One went to Gardner, one just had injuries and now he's gone, right? And they've had per diems. The union contract calls for a 3-man minimum, correct?
No, it does not.
Well, MOU tells me that you have a 4-man minimum, a 4-man shift, but you have a 3-man minimum, okay?
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second, Scott? Their contract still states a 2-man minimum. This
But I
council,
was told that they had an MOU for 3, all right? So
We-
we're
we
looking at
told- we
3
told
people,
them-
and you have a budget right now set for 4 men per shift.
correct,
You can't fill that because you lost 4, correct? So
Correct.
one shift, like Mr. McDay said, you have to fill it with overtime,
absolutely.
because you want a 3-man minimum. But your budget is set for 4. Take that 4th person and make it a per diem paramedic.
And I
Right.
totally, Scott, I'm not disagreeing with any of what you're saying. What I'm
Yeah.
getting at is they played the game for so long of filling that 4th shift with
Well, I
overtime people.
understand that now, but it's like,
That's
it's just related.
that's where this problem of the budget crunch comes from.
Why couldn't we look at that before and just said, okay, we'll have a 3-man minimum, because that's what the MOU tells me, that's what I'm told, right? And then let's keep our paramedics, our per diems,
I don't disagree with you.
know?
I don't disagree with
Okay.
you one bit.
That's the only
The
break that
problem
I had.
being is that game was played for so long before it was caught
Yeah,
that
yeah.
now we're in
And
that
I
budget crunch.
understand Public Safety Director McDade. Yes, 95% of your calls does not need a paramedic. It needs an EMT or an advance, 95% of the time, right? But there is a time, the phone call comes into the dispatch center and they determine the code, right?
And we know that's
And
never right.
You are exactly right. So I get on scene now and it's like, I'm stuck here, I don't have my paramedic with me, I have to wait for an intercept. I can still grab this patient and head to the hospital, meet the paramedic en route, I can do that.
Absolutely.
But-
And I'm not, like I said,
You
I'm
know?
not disagreeing with that thing you're saying, Scotty.
Right. So I'm just looking to, right now, my suggestion was take your 3-man minimum and put your 4th person in as a paramedic. Thank you.
Can I just,
Yeah,
one
please.
thing? And when all this was going on, there was a certain paramedic's vehicle that was there on certain days, Mr. Terry, we know who we're talking about. I thought she was that 4th person. I didn't realize she was the 5th person.
Yeah.
They manipulated it, what they did.
What? I didn't say that.
But it sounds like,
Ella has something?
I just, through the chair, Fran, are you using this sheet for your $135,000?
No, I'm not.
Which sheet are you using?
I'm using the one that came out on
Can you
12/1.
pass that down so I can take a look at that, please?
Mr. Chairman, can I say something while she's looking
Yeah,
at
it's the
that?
same sheet that I got. I just
Okay.
want to clarify something. Fran, at the very top of that, it shows the beginning AR balance of $140,992. When you go down through that line, at the end of the year, you've got a leftover of $135,000. That's actually, we actually lost $5,000 that year. Because if you take the 140,000 and you add in the 58,000
It says
and you
previous-
subtract the 29.
Previous balance. I don't
Previous
believe
balance, that's where
from-
your starting fund is. That's where you start, you actually ended up with $5,000 less than you started with, okay? It's right there.
It says ending balance,
Ending balance, and you've got a beginning
$135,000.
balance of 140,000 at top, right?
Previous balance.
It's
I
the
think that
beginning,
was
it's
from-
the beginning balance.
Okay.
Okay, it's the beginning balance, and you can just take your calculator and go down through it. So what in fact happened was you lost $5,000 with your ambulance service. Okay, but that's acceptable. It's not an issue.
Well, and like we said, Fran, when we did the committee, we knew it's not gonna be a moneymaker.
No, no,
But how
and
many
I-
times do people make that comment?
Nope,
And we're
I'm-
like, no, it's not a
right,
moneymaker.
right.
It's a cost offsetting revenue stream.
I
That's how
don't-
we get our additional people.
That's right.
If I might, through the chair,
Go ahead, Rick.
we can resolve these financial issues. I think the issue that Chief McDade wants to know is, and what I want to know is, he asked the question, do you want me to start hiring per diem paramedics? 3 per shift and then a per diem paramedic?
Absolutely.
That's what you want to know.
Right.
And for me, when a 911 call comes in, I want, if I'm running an ambulance service, I want the advanced level of care that I can. I understand the overtime situation in the past was manipulated and it's way over budget, but I cannot jeopardize the safety of people in the town of Winslow when we go to a call and there's not a paramedic. Oh, just wait a few minutes, I got one coming, but he's not here right now. It's like insurance, you know, you want the best, you want available, the best available treatment that you can get. So my opinion is that we need to, until we can resolve these staffing questions, or if we can get paramedics on board, that in the short term, we need to go back to hiring per diem paramedics, knowing that the cost for overtime is going to be extremely difficult. That's my opinion.
Through the chair, please.
Go ahead.
I also wanted to make mention that the 7 per diem paramedics we currently have are all firefighters except one, firefighters 1 and 2. So they're firefighters. And you say hire. We already hired them. They work for Winslow. They're per diem. We don't have to hire them. We just have to keep them, put them back on the schedule. Keep in mind, the schedule was made out 2 months in advance. So all of those people, when I worked per diem at Delta Ambulance, and I took a shift, I counted on that money. That was my income for the week. You stripped them of all their money with a day's notice. That, to me, was not quite right. You should have at the very least, gone the 2 months, let them work in the shifts they took, then took them off.
Can I ask you a question, Fran?
Sure.
Did you not make a statement to the town manager that if this budget went over, you were going to hold me and her responsible?
What's that? Say it again?
Did you not make a statement to the town manager that if this budget went over, you were going to hold me and her personally
I
responsible?
never in my entire
Yes, you-
life
yes, you
have
did,
ever,
Fran.
really?
If I might, through the
I
chair.
never
if
said
I might,
I'd
through
hold
the
you
chair, please.
responsible.
Point of order, please, if I might, through the chair. The bottom line, the chief asks, do we want to hire per diem paramedics in there? So I'm not going to get into who said what, who said this. Right now, we're into the safety of the town of Winslow and the people through the ambulance service we have. The question on the table right now is, do we want to short-term have paramedic per diems per shift to cover for the safety and the welfare of the town of Winslow? That is the subject that we have right here. Knowing that we're going to incur some overtime for the rest of the year, at least till we can get a handle on this. My feeling is that we need to have a per diem paramedic, because when I call 911, I want the best treatment that I can for life-saving, to save lives. That's what I want.
You want this on every shift?
For me,
That's
until we can,
£720
if I
$720
had
a
said,
day.
if I said
One call pays for
350
it.
days a year at $700 a day, my calculation says it's gonna cost us $250,000 a
Well,
year
and
for
if-
paramedic service.
and if-
So somehow. That's unsustainable for the future. But I'm talking right now is understanding the financial end of the thing is unsustainable. But I can't, I can't put the service of I can't put the quality of care under that. I have to be able to
So
to
you
do that.
understand that that's gonna mean that we're gonna have almost a $2 million fire department budget, the largest budget in the town of Winslow, by a long shot. I mean, we're not talking just a couple $100,000, we're talking $2 million.
That's minus what's coming in from the insurance.
That's right, it's the revenue. The revenue
Mr.
pays for the
Chairman?
paramedic.
May I have a moment?
There's somebody in there had his hand up for a long time. I think.
Lisa, go ahead.
So I'm Lisa Carey, 1149 China Road. I am one of those per diem paramedics. And we were given, I was working at my full-time job in Waterville, and an email went out. We didn't get called, nothing else happened, an email went out. I don't check my work emails when I'm not at work. So one of the other per diem medics happened to stop in and say, hey, you know, what's up with this email? So I looked at it, and it was like, as of right now, we're suspending all the per diem paramedics. The per diem paramedic that was actually working in the station that day was not even told. I was the one who called her and asked her about it. I mean, it's kind of rude, honestly. But my other thing is, you say, you know, yeah, Mike Murphy's we have 2 advanced EMTs. Everybody else is a basic EMT. So if Mike Murphy isn't around, mostly at night, or if Whalen is not on shift that day, you have complete basic EMTs working. So they go on a call. If they need a paramedic, they now have to call Delta or Waterville. If Delta doesn't have a medic, and sometimes Waterville doesn't have a medic, because Waterville's not gonna strip the town of their one and only medic because of, you know, something happening in Winslow at the time. So you're running the risk of having no paramedic. MT3 is around. They're only around during the day. They're not around at night. So at night, you are down to the bare bones of coverage. And if you, I mean, I guess the bottom line is, how much money do you want to put on a life? You know, put a number on somebody's life and see if that works for them.
Through the chair. I would recommend,
I've been waiting, Jeff, for quite a while. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dale, then we'll go to Mike.
The numbers we can throw around, and Fran, I respect you for it, and Ellen, I respect you for it, and the numbers are all out there, and we can each look at the numbers 3 different ways. And I'll be more than happy to sit down with you anytime to go over the numbers on the ambulance service. At best, the way I look at the numbers, and you look at them from a business perspective, the ambulance itself is not making money. That's okay with me. I don't mind that one bit. But to say there is extra money out there coming in from the service, from the ambulance service, it's not there when you do the accounting properly, as we were advised by the auditor in last February's report. But that's okay. The ambulance service is a good service. It's here and it's probably here to stay. Now we've got staffing problems. And you put the staffing problems in that, and I was on the council then when we did this, we added 3 more firefighters and a deputy chief last year under certain promises by the prior chief. Well, for some reason, those promises went by the wayside, and it didn't work out according to what he thought it would work out at. And it caused, in the end, the financial bind we're in with that fire department now. And it is a bind. At the same time, we have so much money there, and I agree with everybody. Yes, firefighters are important, and what's the value of life? Nobody's gonna put a value on somebody's life. But at the same time, we have a police force out there, most of the time, with one guy on duty on a weekend to cover this whole town. That, to me, is also a safety factor. And somehow, we're gonna have to make the balance somewhere between those 2 departments when it comes to salaries. Because no matter what anybody wants to say, every cop or every firefighter that's left this town in the last year has left for more money. That's it. and I'm sure you people have read it in the paper almost every day, the predicament that a lot of towns are in hiring firefighters and hiring police officers. Every town's in it. We can't afford to pay the bonuses that some towns are paying. But there are some things I think we can come up with. We have to increase the salaries for entry-level police officers, or we're not gonna get any, because other towns are gonna pay more.
You good now?
One more thing. And I do agree that we need paramedics on duty. I don't know if we can go 24/7. But I think we can work out something with monies that are, if the overtime budget's now figured out, where we can have a paramedic on duty, at least during the peak times. And I'm sure that the stats are out there, Lenny. What are your peak times during the week for paramedic calls? And pick that out and at least start with that.
Depends on when your heart attack is gonna happen.
There you go, there's no
Well,
time for
you
that.
don't know that. You don't know that. If you wanna go
That's the point.
24/7, you're adding $250,000, you're adding 2.5 mils to the mill rate.
With this year,
Excuse me, 2.5 tenths to the mill rate.
but with this year, Dale, and I agree with you, but with this year, because we're down 3 firefighters, possibly 4, you're not gonna be that bad off, because the second question, part of the question I was gonna give the council afterwards, the one we haven't answered yet, was whether you want me to fill those 3 positions. And I was gonna tell you, if you do direct me to fill those 3 positions, then you will be in over $200,000. But if we do fill them, I would highly recommend that we try to fill those with paramedics.
Mike, do you mind if I just step in right
go
before
right
you?
ahead.
Can I finish, Jeff? Just-
Oh, I'm sorry,
then
I
done.
thought you were
Then
done
I'm
with that statement.
Then I'm
My
done.
bad.
I probably forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, I think there is a short-term solution out there from now till the end of this budget year. Because not having those 3 firefighters, if we don't hire them and we hire paramedics, per diems, paramedics, because I don't believe you're gonna find a full-time paramedic that's gonna wanna come to the town of Winslow for what we pay. That's a reality. Per diems are probably out there. But if we look at the numbers, and I'm sure you know them better than I do, there may be some money out there for a short-term gap to the end of this budget year. But if we're gonna continue in the next budget, which we're working on next month, then we're gonna have to add that 250,000, whatever it is, to that budget.
We're gonna have to add 263 to it, I
Two,
think.
two,
that's it.
263. Now, there might be some money, Ella, that if we're saving the cost of those 3 firefighters that were down right now, actually before, can we take some of that and use for per diem paramedics?
What I
And
would-
not be quite so bad at the end of the year.
Yeah, what I would recommend,
As a
if you guys
short-term
are
goal.
gonna do this, let the budget turn upside down. Pay your money, if the council decides that they wanna fill these paramedics shifts, we just let the budget flip. We'll see where it is, we'll figure out where we have to go from there. I don't agree with infusing cash into a budget, because you don't know how bad it's gonna be if you do that, it's a Band-Aid. So we just let the budget turn upside down, and we'll end up with some red numbers, and then we'll figure out where I mean, it sounds to me like we're gonna build this next budget for the upcoming season with paramedics on every shift, and if that's the case, you're gonna see a $2 million budget. Fran, I understand what you're saying with the revenues and stuff, but that's already built into it. But we'll do whatever you wanna do. We can do whatever you wanna do with it.
And we have the same situation with our police officers.
And that's why I went on record as a proponent of regionalization, because the only way we're gonna stop this is to level everybody's paychecks. But what happens in this business is that if Fairfield needs police officers, they're gonna bring their pay up. If we're lower, they're gonna move over there. They're nomadic. They move to where the money is. And it's almost, it's the way it is with firefighters as well. We gotta find a way to have a ceiling on these prices for these people. And it's not working what we're doing, because the taxpayers are paying the price. I mean, the money that they're paying for emergency services right now versus what they were paying 5 years ago would scare everybody. I started as a cop in 1999 making just over $10 an hour. And right now, get a haircut and strap a gun belt on, I could be making $42 an hour.
The fire department budget has gone up from 750,000 4 years ago to almost 1.6 right now. Now, a lot of that, granted, a lot of that has been in salaries in the last 2 or 3 years because we had no choice. But that's how much the fire
Paid them a
department,
livable wage.
other departments haven't even doubled. And I'm not blaming it on the fire department guys, they're great. They're the best in the business when they're out on the road doing their job. I've never heard one complaint about a firefighter or a cop in this town on the ability to do their job. It's all coming down to administrative, financial, decisions. And,
Can I jump in for a minute, Dale?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, we've got, what, $11,000 left in the per diem budget?
Yes, sir.
My rough guesstimate is if we hired a per diem paramedic every day for the rest of this fiscal budget, we're probably looking at about 120 grand more, right?
I had 134, but.
Okay, give or take.
Mhm.
That's 720 a day.
Mhm.
But we also aren't paying those 3 guys,
Right, that will offset.
so that's gonna offset some of that.
Absolutely.
So I'm guessing we're gonna come in, what,
I think I averaged, for the 3 new positions, if we'd been hired at the entry position, I think it was 27, I've got to figure it out.
Yeah, but Jeff, some of that-
just a round figure. I'm not gonna hold you to
I
it.
think it would save another 40, 50,000. No, it'd be
Each
more.
or total?
Each,
Each.
yeah.
So, personally, as long as we stick to the minimum 3 staffing and add that paramedic, I don't personally have a problem with that.
Because the paramedics are firefighters as well.
Right, but if you're
They
saying,
do,
if you
but
wanna
do they
say that-
act as firefighters when they're per diem, when they're on the per diem medic side?
We can,
I didn't know if they did or not.
yeah, we can.
Can I ask just this real quick, Jeff, because as far as the structure of a fire department goes and what you folks do, I'm not that much up to date, but if we run a 3-person force and we hire the 4th one as a per diem, has to be a per diem, paramedic. We get 1 call that doesn't require a paramedic, so that ambulance is out. Then we get a 2nd call, and left back at the station is 1 advanced EMT or whatever she said we had, plus the paramedic. Does the paramedic go out on a normal
Regular
fire
call?
normal, regular fire call?
Yes,
Yeah.
If it's needed.
because we also dress the hydrant, we help on the
Okay,
playground as well.
all right.
Yeah.
So that would give us 2 full-time, not full-time, give us 2 crews,
Yes.
if we get a 2nd call coming
2
in.
in, 2 out.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead. Sorry about that.
That's all right. You know, where the money's going, it's going to general funding or whatever, we're having a hard time to track it. Why don't we go back into the enterprise system and it's just gonna go right into that particular fund? That way there, we can track it down, we know exactly what's going out, and actually what's coming in. I think we ought to go to that. I think it's gonna be a better tracking system than just going into general funding.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to, if you have an enterprise account, it was explained, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, anybody, it becomes an issue with the auditing, does it not?
It's like having a sewer account. It's a separate entity. It costs more money to, this is a cleaner way of doing it, but if you want to take that proposed $350,000 worth of revenue and give it to the firefighters,
You take 350 out of the budget.
take $350 out of the budget. You're just moving the money
You're
over there.
just moving money at that point.
So I mean, what I would recommend, if you're gonna do that, then cut that budget down from whatever it's gonna be this next year by $350,000. You know, I mean, so just use that revenue just for that, but we're gonna have to have that vetted by the auditor, because I've never personally done this before.
It was recommended by the auditor
To
do
just
it
make
that
it
way.
one account.
Highly recommended.
to do it which way?
One account.
One account.
They did it, two
Other
accounts.
fire departments,
The second
they
year.
keep theirs separate. Waterville keeps it separate, other fire departments keep it separate. It's to, like Mike said, to track the revenue being in, money going back. That's what it was set up to do. That was the intent. Not to go into a general fund, because by the time you take it, use it in other places, the fire
You- you-
department's losing.
No, you're not using it in other places, Fran. That money is already in their budget.
If I might through the chair?
We added that money to their budget
What's the
ahead of
general
time.
fund? The revenue goes into a general fund though, correct?
Yes, but that revenue is already considered in the fire
Ambulance
department.
revenue?
Yes, it's already considered in the fire department budget. That's what paid for those 3 extra guys. So the money's there. It just doesn't show
That's what I
being
mean.
being
You
moved
can't see
around.
it. You can't see
You
what
don't
it
need to
is.
see it. You know it's there already.
Well, we're having an issue right now.
If I might through the chair again, the question here is tomorrow morning, when I have chest pains at my house, which I probably should have them now, but tomorrow when I really have them for a legitimate reason, I want a paramedic to come to my house, and I'm willing to fill the shifts until further notice that we need a paramedic on duty, and that's what I want. That's what I want, until we'll figure out all this, where things go and the money, we'll figure out it during the budget or pre-budget. But for right now, Lenny, as far as I'm concerned, you start hiring per diem paramedics for the safety and the welfare of the people of the town of Winslow. Bottom line, we'll figure out where the money goes. We're willing to take the hit on the overtime, we understand that. And it might be $130,000, but in my opinion, that's worth it for the quality of care that I'm going to get when I call up the Winslow Fire Department for service care. Am I wrong, or am I just missing something
No,
here?
you're not wrong.
That I'm just not missing. I think for the time being, you asked the question, I want a per diem paramedic 24/7.
Until you figure it out.
Per the chair, can we have, Lenny, if we all agree on it, to get back some of those paramedics that you took their shifts away and see if you can get them back on as soon as possible?
Yes, we can start tomorrow. And the second part of that question is, do you want me to hire the 3 possible full open positions? Because
Do you even have a single applicant yet?
I think we have one, but like I said, I would highly recommend trying to hire a paramedic, not just some person with no training at all. But
I
it's up to you guys.
Well, you save a lot on
Well, it
benefits,
should
Lenny.
be
If we
one of
hire
the
full-time right
prerequisites
now
now
on
for
staff,
firefighter
you're
paramedic.
adding 25-30% to their salary. And if we can deal with the per diems for now, under this current fiscal budget, we can deal with the permanent hires in the budget coming up. For the budget workshops coming
So
up.
hold off on hiring those.
On full-time, but you can hire full-time per diem.
I would,
Chair, lean in.
well, let's make this simple. This is what I'm gonna put out there, and I'd like to go with a show of hands, please, when I'm done. We do not hire any positions until the new budget comes out. We fill the 4th slot, or even the 3rd slot if need be, with per diem paramedics. If we can't find a firefighter to fill the 3rd slot because we've got an illness or whatever going on.
Okay.
We have a staffing of 4, one of those always being a per diem paramedic. Can I have a show of hands on that?
A staffing of 4 per shift,
Per
one of them
shift.
being paramedic.
One of them being a per diem
Well,
paramedic.
what about, Jeff, if you have the 3-man non-paramedics, and one of them is out? You gonna fill that third with another paramedic? Or-
I don't know if we can due to the union contract.
It's gonna go empty?
You gotta watch out for, yeah.
Yeah.
But their union contract says a minimum 2.
Right.
So we don't have to hire that third one for that day that somebody's out sick.
You know what? You hire the third person is an in-house person.
All we care about is.
It's not gonna kill you that much, because you're not gonna have those situations where you're down 2 people all the time.
Well, right now, every 3rd shift, you're gonna be down to 2.
You are right now,
Right, 2 shifts, I got 3 people, the
but
3rd shift.
I personally think we need to fill that with a full-timer.
And then a
That's just my
per diem.
opinion.
Me too, because we have no call force anymore. We have no call force. We rely on those full-time people and full-time people from the outside to answer fire calls right now. If we start going down to 2 per shift, there's 2 on a truck, 2 trucks go out, we have nobody, even given the paramedic, yes, but he's not, she or he is not somebody that's totally familiar with the Winslow, because you could say we hire them, but they're a contract worker. They don't know the ins and out of the fire department. They might, but they don't. We need that third person on the shift, so I agree, we need to fill that third person on that shift.
Through the chair, I agree, we need to fill it in also, because I think we're gonna save on the time and a half that we have to fill in anybody else.
Well, we've got one shift that's down to 2 men. Right. Or 2 personnel, sorry. Fill that with a full timer.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not looking to take money out of anybody's pocket.
Preferably a paramedic.
We don't
Yeah,
have any.
You're right, Adam. Preferably a paramedic.
But if we're, through the chair, if we are gonna hire, this time I would hire.
That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
So my proposal, we fill 3 in every shift with full timers, whether it's overtime or not. Fourth person is automatically a per diem paramedic.
You got it.
Can I have a show of hands on that, please? And the budget, we'll just do what the budget does, and we'll have to worry about it later. I don't think it's gonna be as bad as people think.
Through the chair, not with $150,000 worth of employees that we're not having to pay for because we're down 3, so it should offset it fairly well.
That should, not having 3 full-time people.
All right, what's next?
Okay, motion to enter into an executive session pursuant to 16, I can't talk anymore. Pursuant to 36 MRSA subsection 841 2E, poverty abatement discussion. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Do we take 2, 5?
Yeah, 5.